Let's take some time here. Let's let some time go on. Do some investigations. Let's authoritatively confirm what is and what isn't a terrorist situation. And if there are any ties from the Pakistani government to that terrible, slaughter that happened in April, then by all means, that needs to be addressed and people need to be held accountable. But we can't get to a situation, or at least the two parties need to make sure they don't get into a situation that escalates and even more innocent civilians on either side get killed, because that would be bad for everybody.
Right. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Davis, I also want to understand, of course, we need to talk about the role of the United States, the approach that it will take. Some of the early reactions that we have seen has in fact come from the United States, of course, as and when the world wakes up, the reactions will start pouring in. I just want to understand, what do you think is going to be the U.S. administration's approach to this issue?
Well, I think the administration, at least so far from what they've said, is very similar to what I'm saying right now, is that, we have good relations with both Pakistan and India. And obviously we've been improving our relations with India for quite some time. So that's very valuable. And so I'm sure that President Trump is very keen to be able to balance the situation. And you heard Secretary of State Rubio said that he talked to both his counterparts on both sides of this line to try and say, hey, let's come to some kind of reasonable understanding.
Who's winning?
Let's de-escalate the situation here. Let some time pass so that there's not an immediate response. And I think that the ball's kind of in the Pakistan side right now, because they're the next one that they've claimed that they're going to do something. And this is a time where I think patience is definitely the call for, and I hope that Secretary of State is really trying to use his influence to say,
I needed some content.
Rash or do anything
I called up Pakistan
soon.
and said, you'll never believe what India said about you.
Give people a chance to have their rational situation here before anything gets more out of hand.
All right. Of course, at this point, I would also like to bring in our special correspondent, Idris, who's there in Srinagar and has been tracking all this since the wee hours. We heard you say, Idris, that you heard the jets flying over in space, over in air. Now, several airports have been, of course, closed in Jammu and Srinagar and Leh. What is the latest that you can bring in right now, and what kind of situation is there on ground?
What is situation on ground?
People have just started coming out of their homes, and we can see a lot of tension on their faces. The schools very close to the line of control, especially in the northern part of Kashmir, in Baramulla, Kupwara, Handwara, Bandipora, have been closed for today, while as in Jammu division also the schools that are in the Ramban Rajouri sector have also been shut down for at least today and tomorrow. We are also being told that the escalation on the line of control and the international border continues. We've heard from Kupwara's Karna sector, where there has been continuous ceasefire violation from the Pakistani side, which has been retaliated. But this time Pakistan is not only targeting the Indian Army's posts and bunkers, but also the civilian population.
We've seen who's most pissed about this?
Zelensky. Have been killed in the ceasefire violation in the Poonch sector of Jammu division. While as if we talk about the northern part of Kashmir in Kupwara, there have been multiple houses which have been completely damaged due to the shelling that has taken place from the other side. We've seen that Indian Army has been retaliating at every place, but this seems to be Pakistan's first reaction to the Indian Armed Forces action that was precisely made on the 9 installations belonging to the terrorist groups. But if we talk about the whole Kashmir division right now, there's a lot of tension. Srinagar Airport, Jammu Airport, Leh Airport, as well as some of the airports in North India have been shut for today. We are being also told that the Srinagar Airport has been taken over by the Indian Air Force.
What do you guys think Trump's big announcement later this week is? So we'll have to
wait and watch how the situation basically pans out. At the moment, a lot of tension. People, especially living very close to the line of control, are moving out. We've seen a lot of evacuation being done in those areas, and a lot of people on their own are also moving out who are very close to the line of control. Security forces during the night also.
Days are over. And those days are over. Those days are over. And, I said before in our meeting with the new and very talented Prime Minister of Canada, that we have some very big announcement to make. It's not about trade, it's about something else, but it's going to be a truly earth-shattering and positive development for this country and for the people of this country, and that'll take place sometime within the next few days.
No more taxes? No more income tax? Are we annexing Canada? What's going on? Come on, Trump, spill it.
With the people on ground there, what sort of reactions are coming in from the
Hillary
region?
to Alcatraz? Hopefully.
Well,
Is that right? 6K
the
dose
operation
checks?
started at around 1 o'clock. That is when in Srinagar,
Trump
where
radiation
I live very
suits?
close to the airport,
Maybe.
And I could hear the sounds of the jets as
There'll
well
be
as the
solid
fighter jets,
gold.
all over the Kashmir division. That was one of the reasons that people across the Kashmir division were awake at the time when this all was happening. So that was the brief period of around 45 minutes when there was only and only noise of the aircrafts all around Srinagar city, and that was the time this whole operation was carried out by the security forces. In the morning hours, when people started actually coming out, we got the information from the government authorities that one by one they've started closing the schools, especially which are close to the line of control, those districts starting from there. And now we've also heard that the schools in Srinagar city,
He's
which
got
are
a
very
live
close
feed
to
of the bombing.
airport,
Humility
have also
alien
been shut
disclosure.
for today. So slowly
probably
people
about the
are getting to know
Gazans.
about it. But at the moment, as you see, there is zero traffic on the ground. People are not coming out at
Fractal.
all.
The radiation
as
suits will
usual
come in
they
two
used to come.
colors.
This is the
Bling,
time when
bling,
schools
gold
open
and Trump
the
Cheeto
school buses
orange.
are out on the roads. But today we're seeing very
might have to get
less,
one of each.
motion
have the whole
outside,
set.
on the streets of Srinagar, because people definitely knew that something is happening during the night because of the noise, because of the jets hovering around Srinagar city. We also saw after around 5 hours after the operation, around 5:30 in the morning, there were some moments, aerial moments of the helicopters. We did see some army helicopters moving at that point of time again, but maybe they were basically rescue operation
Is
that
this live?
was carrying the civilians that were basically injured during the ceasefire violations in different areas.
Right, Idris, of course, thank you so much for staying there and, of course, giving us the latest from the ground. Let me just go back to our guest now.
There'll be collectibles in 20 years.
As you saw,
Yeah, the ones that survive.
That we have our reporter on ground looking at the situation that seems to be tense. And now, I want your perspective on how this will play out globally, and what kind of impact do you see happening if this sort of escalates, and what kind of response will U.S. have on that?
Well, you know, I think you can't really separate it from what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine war, in the potential for
Big
war with Iran, because Russia and China are both involved with that.
They seem
China
to be
obviously
gathering
has
in
a lot of interest in
Pakistan.
what happens with India. They have interaction with
this is a major
Pakistan as well.
government
So there's a
meeting
lot of
happening at
interest
their-
on this
at their
from all
parliament
quarters. And
location.
the United States clearly has an interest in this
grass
because
field.
India is one of our biggest trading partners and one of our biggest
Hello,
democracy
Kimbo.
powers as well, and partners in the world. So I mean, you have
Pakistan
people
might
really
drop
all
a dirty
different
bomb,
kinds
but I doubt
of
they'd
governments
notice.
and entities all over the world that have a lot of interest in seeing this not escalate. And I think it
The before
makes a
and
lot of
afters
people
look
really
exactly
nervous.
the same.
You can't get away from it when you're talking about two nuclear powers, and that's something that everybody's trying to keep a lid on. There's always this concern about
show
the
the
Russia-Ukraine
raccoon.
war could possibly escalate into nuclear confrontation.
put that in This Week in Home?
You don't want to have a situation to where the NATO bloc in Russia have an issue like that, and certainly not Pakistan and India, because if any nuclear threshold gets crossed anywhere.
This is being referred to as the raccoon.
Springfield Township Police Department.
Okay, stop it, Josh. How are you?
So the reason I stopped you is you are suspended with a warrant for your arrest.
I am?
So do me a favor, turn off the car, put the keys up on the dash, detain you for that warrant, and because you are suspended actively. Oh. Hey.
What?
Come here.
Hello?
The raccoon has her meth pipe.
As what?
Oh my God.
Her meth pipe.
Oh, look at him. He's like, wasn't me. He's like, nah. Raccoons on meth? What's more important right now? The India-Pakistan war or the fact that raccoons are on meth now?
He's playing with the meth pipe right now. No, don't reach for it. That's evidence now.
Oh, I don't want him to have that.
That's why I'm going to do it.
She's like, well, he doesn't deserve that. I deserve that.
Honey?
Huh?
It's okay.
Okay, you're on Arlington. He'll be here in 2 minutes. I'm right across from my house.
Is that what that
A few
is?
minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what she's smoking meth in.
Okay.
John, this says that's like 15 minutes from my house. You seen any raccoons running around on meth lately?
He's trying to smoke it.
All right. Thanks.
There's no way.
The cop was gonna give it back to him.
All right.
He's like, I gotta
Enough
see
fun
this.
in games.
Here.
Again?
Oh,
Yeah, he's on his way here.
keep an eye.
Matthew
She was trying to
McKinnis,
take
thank you
meth
for the
pipe out
info.
of the car.
Meth
Just keep
raccoons
an eye
are
on
now
real
on my
quick.
threat radar. Be aware. Be very aware of what's going on out there, guys. If you don't know about the meth raccoons, are you even really informed?
In Bahawalpur, in Muridke, these were the centers essentially of the terror camps, as India has been saying. It's a big move by India, and this time the strikes are just not limited to few pockets in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. These are strikes deep in Pakistani Punjab. That is hugely significant.
What in the Midwest
and this
was
is something that the world will be closely watching. We know that so far
Ohio.
the American
Where else?
comments have poured in. The US President Donald Trump has made his remarks. We also know that the US top diplomat Marco Rubio has spoken to the Indian NSA and the Pakistani NSA and called for de-escalation. But it is given that at some point there will be strikes by the Pakistani side, and this is something that will be closely watched. But all in all, at the 10 a.m. briefing, more details will be given as to how India led this target. An important development, an expected development from the Indian side.
Right, it's very interesting because just a day ago we were thinking about how the mock drills are supposed to happen in several states of India and several districts in Delhi itself. And I mean, it's kind of, we don't know if we should say that, but it kind of developed really fast, the whole escalation. But what is the update on that part? If you could tell so. And what is the reaction on ground from the heart of India?
You know, these strikes have put the entire, essentially, plans for the day in a lot of changes. In fact, today was the day here in Delhi where there were mock drills planned, nationwide mock drills, but also here in Delhi, but also briefings by the Indian Trade Minister on the India-UK FTA being concluded. It was expected to happen at 9 a.m. So there were a lot of pressers. In fact, there was another important event by the Russian side, the Russian embassy, to pay
Maybe that's Trump's important
to
announcement.
Biju Patnaik because he played an important role in the battle
giving free
of
meth
Stalingrad.
to all the raccoons.
But it now looks everything is in a state of suspension or perhaps has been deferred. We are waiting for official word because
Jay says England
it
and
was
France
a long
fought
night
over
and
Ohio.
officials
Let
were
that sink in.
awake all
What?
night.
I don't know
and
what
now,
you're
of
talking
course,
about.
we know that focus will
England
be
and
as
France
to how to deal with the
fought over
aftermath
Ohio.
of these strikes, because there's a lot of inflammatory commentary coming from the Pakistani side. Currently, and all eyes will be on what will be the next move by the Pakistani side. Will it engages in escalation or it will de-escalate as is something
River
that
Valley.
Washington has been calling for.
Right. Now, Siddhant, you spoke about the inflammatory messaging and the statements that are coming out of Pakistan.
French and
Nothing new
Indian
there.
War. Okay, I didn't connect the French-Indian
I'd
War
like to come
to Ohio.
you
That's
on that
funny.
as well. Even in the lead up to what happened in Pahalgam, we saw the inflammatory
in related news,
Chief of Army
U.S. customer support unreachable.
In the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack as well,
Boomers
we saw that Pakistan was
can't find
unwilling
their
to
start
back
menu.
down. We saw inflammatory statements and comments come from its
Oh,
leadership.
the humanity.
Even right now, we've seen ceasefire violations for 12 nights. Last night,
Sun
this morning,
dropping car
perhaps
warranty
would have been the
calls.
13th night. Of course, India has given a resolute response to Pakistan on that front. That being said, it does appear to be a battle of narrative as well. We saw yesterday that Pakistan was trying to put forth a narrative in the UNSC, which was completely rejected. It was fully grilled on the questions with regards to the involvement of the NET in the Pahalgam terror attack as well. What do you have to say on that?
Or I just wasn't fucking paying attention that.
Well, that's you put it perfectly. It's a battle of narratives because especially in the international community, who was not steeped in the day-to-day operations of these things. They only have the narratives, and they hear the Pakistan side.
Does Indian Army loadout include safety sandals? I hope so.
Terrorist attack that happened in Kashmir. We didn't do anything about this. These aren't terrorist training grounds.
Did you see another F-18 fell off a boat?
And then they hear
Would you like a second one?
No, they
I saw the one from last week. Did the second one fell off?
On the ceasefire for, as you say, 12 straight nights.
What the hell?
These things have to be accounted.
You would think they would find a way to
especially in the United States. Obviously, they're not tracking these kind of things, so they don't know who to believe here. All they know is that there were 26 people that were just brutally murdered there in April, and now they see more people have been killed in the responses here. And the
Which side should she go on?
More people could be killed in the Pakistani response, and so
ship her out.
The West, who's not tied into this as emotionally as obviously
maybe she'll
either
end that
Pakistan
war
or the Indian side
immediately.
They're saying let's just calm down and let's just take this easy, and if that's really easy to say from the outside, I totally concede that, but that is probably what is necessary the most, so that maybe cooler heads can prevail, and then we can ascertain what is the truth, who was responsible for what, and who needs to be held accountable for these kinds of any kind of violations, that especially those that led to the loss of life.
All right, well, thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, for joining us and giving your perspective on that.
A pleasure.
My pleasure.
All right, well, of course, we've been tracking everything that has been going on since the wee hours
Operation Sindoor.
An army. At the moment, there is complete silence in the sky, but we did hear for around 45 minutes extreme noise of the jets hovering around all across Srinagar as well as in the Kashmir division. We've seen how the Indian Armed Forces have carried out this strike across the line of control in the POK at 9 different locations with precision, not hitting any of the military facilities or any civilian population, but carrying out attacks with precision on the terrorist camps that are active across the line of control. We've heard we've also seen, Shivan, in the last 12 nights, now 13 nights, that Pakistan Army has been breaking ceasefire at every place, at least 8 places every single night. And we also saw that how they were giving cover to the terrorist groups who were trying to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory. 2 of the terrorists were killed during these events that took place in the last 1 week. So the line of control at the moment extremely volatile. There is fighting going on from both the sides at multiple places, and people, especially living very close to the line of control and international border, have been asked to move back, while as Srinagar airport has also been closed for any commercial flights for the next 24 hours.
All right, thanks Idris, for getting us the latest. I will come back to you in a bit as developments continue to come in. We are tracking the developments right here in India because Operation Sindoor has been carried out. The Indian Armed Forces have confirmed this. We'll also bring you a quick understanding of the reactions which are coming in. I'll play some posts which have gone out on social media platform X on the different handles which are from as of now. Let's start with Indigo. Indigo has issued a travel advisory, and this is what they're saying. This is due to the changing airspace conditions in the region. Our flights, Indigo flights from Srinagar to and from Srinagar, Jammu, Amritsar, Leh, and even Chandigarh and Dharamshala, they have been impacted. And Indigo is requesting passengers to please check flight status. Now, this is an evolving development, and this is Ashwini Vaishnaw, the Railway Minister, Union Railway Minister, saying Jai Hind, of course, all in unison with what India has carried out. This is after Operation Sindoor, where India has struck 9 locations across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, all terrorist infrastructure, no military infrastructure. Rajnath Singh, the Indian Defence Minister, Bharat
Jay Davis, more like Walt Shipman. Why didn't I think of that?
India, that is what Rajnath Singh is saying. Let's move further from here. The other reactions, this is from the Ministry of Defense. Now, this is the same statement which the Indian government had also put out shortly after the Operation Sindoor was confirmed by the Indian Armed Forces, that a precise and restrained response. Please read this language very carefully, because this is exactly what India has done. It was a precise and restrained response to the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 lives. This happened on the 22nd of April. And that includes a Nepali citizen who died in Baisaran Meadows. Focus strikes were carried out on 9 terrorist infrastructure. Terrorist has been hashtagged because that is the infrastructure which India has targeted. These are sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, targeting the routes of cross-border terror planning. Importantly, no Pakistani military facilities were hit, reflecting India's calibrated and non-escalatory approach. Must understand, this was a non-escalatory approach which India has taken. India is not looking for a war, but India is going to serve justice. That is exactly what this statement says. This operation underscores India's resolve to hold the perpetrators behind that deadly Pahalgam terror attack accountable while avoiding unnecessary provocation. A detailed briefing on this operation will follow later in the day today. Now, this is the statement which came out at 1:44 a.m. viewers, and shortly before this, around this time, our correspondent who
imagine the smell,
jets scrambling across the airspace.
This might be the biggest smell imaginable.
2 a.m. is where we are putting this.
You've never imagined a smell.
Exact confirmation, of course, that the timing of these strikes will come from the Indian Armed Forces only. I'll now cut across to our correspondent Idris Sloan, who's joining us from Srinagar. Idris, the line of control ceasefire violations which we have been talking about and reporting on since 12 consecutive nights, today being the 13th night, and we've heard shelling. This is for the first time.
Notice, sir, Star Wars Episode 2?
In the international border with India. That happened a few days back, but today we've also heard shelling along with Operation Sindoor, which of course has taken place.
You haven't watched since the Summer of Love? Welcome back, buddy.
Give us more on what you picked up.
Just in time for the Summer of Poo.
Well, Shivan, before I give you an update on the line of control, the especially Indigo Airlines has just tweeted and said that due to the changing airspace conditions in the region, the flights, especially from Srinagar and Jammu, it seems Amritsar, Leh, Chandigarh, Dharamshala, the whole northern part of India, basically the flights will be impacted. It seems that the Srinagar airport especially might be closed for all the flights, at least for a day, at least for today. That's what we are hearing.
Agenda guy is freaking out right now. I'm just speculating. It's a pretty good speculation at all times.
The flights that are landing in Jammu and Kashmir.
Looks like Steve is eating. He'll be back shortly.
And Dharamshala.
Steve has to eat food.
From the Indigo, it seems all the other airlines will follow the suit, and they will be changing, and their flights will be impacted as well. As I said,
Stroman.
We heard a lot of jets hovering around all the Srinagar city.
What an appropriate way for the world to end. Nuclear poo wars.
Now, but Srinagar
that does seem like it would be
airport,
like the ending to human civilization.
For the defense purposes.
You know, if you were writing it as a movie, this is how it ends.
Flights that come to Srinagar.
Pirates, he has been freaking out. I'm sure he's been freaking out.
For the day at least. On the line of control as well as on the
before we go to the line of control, I just want to come in and get a little more understanding from you. You mentioned that jets were heard across. Can you give us a timeline?
Star Wars Revenge of the Shits.
1:44 a.m. is when that statement came out from the Indian Armed Forces about Operation Sindoor. What time were these jets heard over Jammu and Kashmir?
Jay Davis air fryers need love too.
That's exactly the time, Shivan. Yes, the jets started at actually around 1:30. That is when we heard the sound of the jet. I personally live very close to the
7-Eleven versus 9/11,
and that is where most of the action was, especially with regard to the jets hovering around and taking off and landing. For at least 40 minutes, we did hear jets hovering around all over Srinagar city, especially if I talk about the city. But what we are hearing from our people from different districts,
starring Jar Jar Stinks,
Kashmir, they also heard that jets were
the puns could never end. We could just have a pun night.
And that is where the attacks have taken place.
What's going on up here? Oh, that's older. All right, let's take a little break from Star Wars and watch some guys on a cargo ship feeding sharks.
Feeding the big one, shall we say? Right? Go, go, go. Holy shit, right? A bit of meat. Look at all that meat.
This is actually human meat. They're just giving him a taste for human blood.
Where they come from nowhere? Wow.
No face, the Empire wipes back. Jesus. The Empire wipes front to back. Cash, the Cricket World Cup's gonna be awkward this year. Pavlov sharks. Is this Alcatraz? Jay, if this shark has a meth pipe, I'm out, man. Fuck this.
It's amazing.
Oh, look at these sharks showing up to the party late. Hey guys, what's going on over here? You missed it, bud. You missed it.
Locations across POK. We've heard that Pakistan has resorted to ceasefire violation at multiple locations. Shelling also.
Missiles were fired on Masjid and Markaz-e-Taiba in Muridke. Muridke is a location in Pakistan in the Punjab region. And this is the information that we've picked up. These are locations which have housed. Now, remember, viewers, Punjab in Pakistan is where Lashkar-e-Taiba Supremo Hafiz Saeed has had his bastions. Muridke, this specific site which was struck, and a masjid and Markaz-e-Taiba in Muridke was struck in that strike. These are locations which have housed the Lashkar chief Hafiz Saeed. Hafiz Saeed is the man.
Cash update. India is using biological warfare, sending in all their street food vendors to Pakistan. Food poisoning expected to result in millions of casualties.
That India will always
Pakistan could just return in kind. I mean, this is the problem. And also, when you have nuclear food vendors, both sides can just obliterate the other side
that
with
can
their
never be confirmed,
food.
because that's something that Pakistan has said. This was the location
We need reasonable food vendor laws.
And targets would be,
anyone
also mentioned that targets
from
would
having
be
Indian
Bahawalpur
food.
and Muridke and Muzaffarabad. Now these are locations which have been struck. I'll just give you a quick understanding of the locations where these strikes took place. Muzaffarabad, which is in POK, Muridke, which is in Punjab.
Marco Rubio urges India and Pakistan to talk.
Now, 15 days after the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, in which 26 innocent civilians were killed, Indian armed forces hit back targeting terror camps in Pakistan-occupied
We're referring to this as the Tsar Wars. Not quite World War III yet.
To Indian sources,
it's currently contained in the Poo region,
overnight precision strikes under the
not quite World War III yet.
Sindoor. In a coordinated strike by Indian Army and the Indian Air Force, terrorist groups Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed's bases were hit in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Sources said Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself was monitoring the operation throughout the night.
No face. Why are we watching Dell support?
said that India struck 6 sites in Kotli, Muridke, Bahawalpur and Muzaffarabad. Later, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif confirmed that India conducted military strikes in the Pakistani territories. US President Trump also reacted to the strike, saying he knew something of this sort was going to happen and hoped that it ends very quickly. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval spoke to his US counterpart and Secretary of State Marco Rubio after the strikes, briefing them about India's military operation. Pakistan NSA Asim Malik also spoke to US NSA and Secretary of State Rubio on the strikes by the Indian Armed Forces. Pakistan opened heavy artillery fire along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. According to defense sources, the Pakistan Army suffered casualties in the strong Indian retaliation.
Kate, what is your least favorite accent? I'll go first. Boston.
Indiscriminate firing by Pakistan.
Boston's up there. I don't know about
Airlines in
least
India have
favorite,
issued a flight advisory for several airports, saying airports in Dharamshala, Leh, Jammu, Srinagar and Amritsar will remain closed until further notice. In Pakistan,
that's a good question.
Lahore
What's
and
my
Sialkot
least
airports
favorite
have been
accent?
closed for the next 48 hours. Punjab Chief Minister has declared
something about the British accent just pisses me off.
Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spoke to chiefs of the Army,
Canadian
Navy, Air Force,
accents.
following the
They're up there
overnight
too.
missile
I don't
strike
know.
on 9
I'd have to think
terror
on that quite a
targets
bit.
in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Army will address the media on the execution of the Operation Sindoor against the Pakistani terror groups at 10 a.m. today. This is what's transpired so far. Over to you now, Jyotsna.
Well, let's get you the latest reactions that are coming in for the families of the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack. Now listen to this.
जे हे नाव दिलंय त्याच्यासाठी मी त्यांचे आभार
Pog
मानते
the
कारण
French.
त्यांच्या सगळ्या लेकींचं
Which British accent? There's hundreds. Exactly.
मिटवून टाकलेलं आणि
part of the problem.
तेच नाव दिलं मला ते नाव वाचल्यानंतर अतिशय डोळ्यात पाणी आलं की त्यांना जाणीव आहे आमची
Don't make Austin think. Yeah, don't make me think. That's assault.
का बदला लिया है जिस तरीके से हमारे पूरे परिवार को उन पे विश्वास था उन्होंने उसी तरीके से जवाब देके हमारे विश्वास को कायम रखा है and I'm really thankful.
Now, of course, these are the reactions coming in from the families of the civilians that became victims of the terror attack.
Yeah, what's going on in the Diddy trial? Jury selection.
Sex crimes affecting many women in the case. So
many women.
Obviously, people bring their views on these types of cases.
Many
their
women
experiences
affected
into that courtroom and that jury deliberation room. And sometimes folks think, well, it's a case involving a man, a crime against a woman. Maybe Diddy wants the jury to be all male. Not necessarily. Because sometimes in these types of cases, women actually tend to be more favorable for the defense and less accepting of a woman's account, especially
he's using the word woman as
might
plural.
say, you know what? I would never put myself in that situation. Going to a all-white party with a musician,
is that acceptable?
A music mogul like Diddy, and they might ask themselves, well, what was this woman's
intention? Is it not women
when they went
if it's
there?
multiple?
So I think both sides, whether
Am
it's
I
men,
crazy?
whether it's women, they want jurors that are favorable.
Okay, this chat
to their
disappoints me.
case, and
Urban
sex
American
isn't
is obviously the
necessarily
worst
gonna matter as
accent.
much.
Is there anything else that the
I'm
prosecution
not counting that as a
is
language.
particularly
You have to
looking
at least be able to
doing this
understand
jury
what someone's
selection,
saying
or, as you
for
put
it to be
last
a
week,
language
the
and an
selection
accent.
process, striking folks off of that list to make
Such
sure
a
that
weird.
jurors
He might
that
be
aren't
AI
favorable
generated.
to each side don't end up on that jury of 12.
Christina, the reality is this is a celebrity case and a rich and famous one at that. Sean Combs is one of the most famous entertainers in the entire world, and celebrities do well when they're put on trial. They do better than ordinary folks. So if you're the government here, the Department of Justice, you really want to make sure that you get any fans off that panel. That's got to be your number one goal. You want people that are going to decide the case solely based on the facts and evidence in the case. And we've seen it time and time again. I'm sitting here in Los Angeles, and it was a very weak case, but A$AP Rocky was acquitted out of a criminal trial, and it certainly helped that Rihanna was there in the gallery with her baby watching him. So I'm not saying that that's going to carry the day, but that's something you have to be aware of if you're one of the prosecutors in this case. You got to get those fans off the panel.
And what's even more interesting is that social media made it into the courtroom today. We do know that the question was asked.
Yeah, has anyone else rammed into her gate?
Have you communicated to others, posted your opinion on social media or online, or even liked any social media posts about Mr. Combs? If so,
Lynn,
when
Inner City
and
Press
where
post
did
on
you
X from
post
court. Jury
and
questioning
state that
seems to
opinion?
not be going smoothly.
How huge is that going to
Was
be
there any,
already as well?
did they expound on that? Like in what way?
All the time. Yes,
Are they having to expel a ton of them?
Maybe they
Because
even reposted something
their
on their
fans
Instagram story just to get response.
Be pro Diddy and some will be against. So when you're the lawyers, you want to know where are people getting their news, and importantly, what are they saying about this case? One thing that makes this case different from all the others that people cover or so when you're the lawyers, you want to know where are people getting their news, and importantly, what are they saying about this case? One thing that makes this case different from all the others that people cover or jurors participate in is the jurors have seen some of the key evidence in the case, and that's that 2016 video of Diddy seemingly assaulting Cassie Ventura at a hotel here in Los Angeles. So those jurors are going to come into that courtroom with preconceived notions.
Half
about
the potential
case.
jurors probably asking, did he do it?
They
all think that they came up with that clever joke too.
Comedian making jokes about the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. So whether it's a meme, whether it's a substantive discussion about the evidence in the case, everyone in the country and really the entire world,
let's just have meme trials from now
about
on.
This case and has probably interacted with it already on social media. So that's what the lawyers and the high-paid jury consultants in this case want to find out. Have those jurors said anything about the case, because it may be favorable or unfavorable, and that may guide their decision here.
And speaking of social media, I want to put up this tweet that we have there from legal affairs journalist Megan Cuniff. She put this out on her X account that prosecutors in the Sean Diddy Combs trial say that attorney Mark Geragos should be admonished and not able to speak to the press during this trial. Of course, we know that Geragos was there in court with Diddy yesterday, but has not formally at this point appeared in his case. Is this, quote, normal in this case that they're trying to stop an attorney from speaking to the media? Because honestly, I have to tell you, Nima, we look forward to getting those live feeds into our newsroom so we can play them out for the viewers. When those lawyers say step up and speak to the mic, we're able to get just an inside
speak to the media all the time.
Of what really is happening there in the courtroom.
One thing that makes this case unique is that it's being prosecuted in the Southern District of New York. And we've seen this in other cases, in the Mayor Eric Adams case, and the Luigi Mangione federal case that's there. The Southern District of New York has some pretty stringent local rules that prevents the lawyers in the case from making statements, extrajudicial statements, including statements to the media, that may affect or taint the jury pool. This is a direct rule that a lot of other jurisdictions don't have. So in those cases that I mentioned, for instance, the defense said, you know what, the prosecution is saying things that is tainting the jury pool, whether it's Pam Bondi, whether it's the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. Here, Megan's one of the best. She's here in L.A. I know her well, and I know Mark Geragos as well. The issue in the case is the following. Geragos is there, but he hasn't filed a notice of appearance, so he's not officially on the case. I don't know if he's licensed in New York or he's going to be
New Live
temporarily
Doom?
licensed.
More like New Live Poom.
Changes at all. Given the nature of what's happening, Jyotsna, we saw shortly after the Indian Armed Forces carried out a targeted strike on 9 terror infrastructure spots in Pakistan and POK. We saw the Pakistani military escalating the situation at the line of control, as Idris has also been mentioning since the wee hours of morning, and how they've been carrying out escalated crossfire.
John says, was Cosby ever at a Diddy party, Jay? He was, but no one remembers.
Given how locals will now be dealing
they all
with
felt a little
situation
funny after a cocktail that night.
In Jammu and Kashmir, in other bordering villages of Rajasthan and Punjab, it remains
he fucking
to be seen
tape rapes
if
the entire party.
And, the central government takes any decision in order to change the plan or keep it intact, as it may in fact help the civil population of the country to in fact be better prepared in case the days ahead are slightly more uncertain. Jyotsna?
Absolutely. Now we're also being joined by our assistant editor of Foreign Affairs, Siddhant. We just heard Joe talking about how India is also being preparing on the other side. You're in New Delhi, the capital. A press briefing is to take place at 10 a.m. If you could just bring in some more reactions from the capital, and if you've seen any kind of security situation in Delhi, and what kind of environment do you assess there in New Delhi?
Well, in next few hours, we will see the Indian side briefing the world media about the strikes that have taken place.
Briefing or beefing?
The magnitude of strikes.
I'm voting
the
for
world
beefing.
is still waking up to it. In fact, India is waking up to the strikes, because these are not just minor strikes at line of control and in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. These are strikes deep within Pakistani territory, targeting terror camps. The list is out, the terror camps who have been targeted. But we know that there have been a lot of commentary coming from Pakistan as well. There is I would say, a fog of what next, how the situation will pan out. Will there be a deterioration or will there be a de-escalation? We know that the American side has commented so far. We're still waiting for other capitals to wake up and react as well to the developments that have happened, especially from the P5 member countries, Russia, UK, France and China. But these are developments which are still happening so far, as we have been pointing out since Riyadh, that India has taken out and carried out strikes within Pakistani territory and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And that is a clear message by the Indian side on the issue of terrorism. The Indian External Affairs Minister has, of course, commented as well, saying that there should be zero tolerance against terrorism. We have also seen diplomatic community in Delhi waking up to the developments. In fact, the Israeli ambassador is the first ambassador to comment on the development. Let me read out the statement that has been issued by the Israeli side this morning. And this is a significant statement, I would say, because the Israeli side from day one has been saying that they will be supporting India. So this is the statement. Israel supports India's right for self-defense. Terrorists should know that there is no place to hide from their heinous crimes against innocents. So Israel becomes the second country to react, and full support to India. But all in all, what will be the reaction of the international community?
There you have it. Israel's on India's side. Do with that information what you will. Okay. All right. So here's a thread from Intercity Press that's basically a list of, or it's a summary of how each juror in the Diddy trial went. But here's juror 223. Judge says, Juror 223, you must take your hat off. Juror 223 says, I have Crohn's disease. It attacks my bowels. I need the bathroom once an hour. Judge says, well, we'll be doing 2 to 3 hours in a row. 223 says, I need the bathroom at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1. Judge says, you are excused for cause. No word yet on if that person is being sent to Pakistan and India to be part of the poo wars. I'll update you if we find out.
Diplomatic front, we know that the reactions of the global...
Railroad, any news out of Seattle tonight?
Front,
not that I've seen. I haven't really been paying attention to Seattle tonight.
There's a lot of misinformation also coming from the Pakistani side.
If there were to be news, it would be like last night where, people upload stuff that happens later on. Seattle notoriously doesn't allow anyone to live stream anything. Seattle Antifa.
Situation in Srinagar for quite some time, and we just hear that schools have been shut. What kind of security situation are you picking up from there as of now?
Well, security has been put on high alert right after the Pahalgam attack, whether it's the Srinagar city or the other districts of Jammu and Kashmir. There have been multiple operations that have been carried out by security forces across various districts, especially in the south of Kashmir, in Anantnag district, where the attack had taken place. There were 4 major combing operations of the security forces already on in the forest area of Pahalgam, where security forces still believe that the terrorists who carried out the Pahalgam attack are still hiding. They've cornered them from all the 4 sides and are carrying out the combing operation there. On the other side, we've also seen how the line of control from the last 13 days has been volatile. There's been ceasefire violation every single day from the Pakistani army side. We were thinking that they're basically giving an indication that they are alert on the borders. That was the indication Pakistan army was sending through these ceasefire violations in the last 12 days, but they were carrying on with them. But today, after India basically carried out the attack with precision, it was right after that at around 2 o'clock, Pakistan again broke the ceasefire violation on the 13th consecutive night, not at one place but multiple places across the Kashmir division as well as in the Jammu region, and this time not with small arms but with heavy artillery. On the other hand, they've also what they did this time was that not only target the Indian armed forces bunkers and posts, but also the civilian population living across the line of control and international border. We've seen that Indian Army and border security forces have continuously been retaliating reacting to these escalations by the Pakistan army on the border. But since Pakistani army has targeted the civilian population in Jammu, where 3 people were killed, as well as in northern part of Kashmir in Kupwara, where there's been a lot of damage to the houses, although the people were evacuated from those places before the shelling started. But all the houses in those areas close to the line of control completely burned down due to the heavy shelling from the Pakistani side. So a lot of tension right now all across Jammu and Kashmir. People really waiting that whether this would convert into something or there would be more escalation. If Pakistan really escalates this, then India is left with no choice but to retaliate in a bigger way, and that could actually mean a war. And nobody, at least in these bordering areas in Kashmir and Jammu, wants that, because they're the ones who are basically in the center of it.
Absolutely. Now, there are tensions in Srinagar. Then, of course, we're looking at reactions that we just got from the world that our Assistant Editor of Foreign Affairs just briefed us upon. Thamjot, if I could just come to you, if you could just brief us on the reactions that you have picked up from India.
Well, Jyotsna, political parties are beginning to now react on social media and are putting out their official statement of how they unilaterally back the operation carried out by the Indian Armed Forces. When we first
Mike Myers has been named in the Diddy trial.
a.m. Earlier this morning, we had quick reactions coming in from the Defense Minister, followed by other top leadership of the Indian government. But soon as the day broke, as more and more leadership of the country woke up to the news of this of Operation Sindoor being carried out successfully, we're seeing the similar mood, a similar mindset, a similar statement being put on.
Oh, because it says Diddy on the tattoo.
So clearly there is no divide when it comes to political unity in India, Jyotsna. That is clear for sure. Other parties also from the opposition bloc have also tweeted in the same breath. Of course, we've seen this stance of unity taken moments after the Pahalgam terror attack happened on April 22nd. We saw leaders across political lines back the government and call for unified action to be taken militarily and diplomatically against Pakistan-backed terror groups and terrorists that carried out this dastardly attack in Jammu and Kashmir.
Johnny
so at this moment, this
the
is
streets
where
of
things
England
stand,
are about to get very dangerous.
We're waiting to hear in terms of developments that come in after the cabinet security meeting and
maybe very smelly
meeting that Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs with members
dangerous gases
from the
through
Indian government. So more developments, more statements are expected. But in the past few hours, ever since the targeted strike was carried out, it has only been a unified front that India has put forward.
Smokey Robinson accused of sexual assault, hostile work. How old is Smokey Robinson now?
Go back to Idris now. Now this all has, of course, escalated after the Pahalgam attack. We know that India was also investigating and trying to probe into what actually happened and kind of find the terrorists who actually...
Joe Scarborough of MSNBC says AOC is one of the most articulate, exciting people in the Democratic field. What? I mean, that may be true, but that's not a great thing. It's not a high bar.
It was a meritocracy. Rev, nobody ever said that Congress was a meritocracy. I understand that AOC may be more progressive than a lot of people. I also understand that she's one of the most articulate, exciting people in the Democratic field.
AOC is the smartest Democrat.
goes out with Bernie Sanders, and yeah, she just draws so many people. It's very good, very effective in hearings. We've seen a lot of people. Nancy Pelosi was a progressive. When Nancy became leader, she realized she needed to represent the entire caucus. AOC certainly could do that as well. After the election, she was going around talking to people who voted for her and Donald Trump, saying, "I want to understand why did you do that? What don't I understand?" Listen, Democrats, I mean, and we're going to talk to Dave Weigel about this in a second, their approval rating is just absolutely disastrous. They don't need to keep getting people like in retirement, past retirement age, being their voice. They need somebody young like AOC. And again, it's not about ideology. She can carry the message forward for a Democratic Party that really needs to reach out to younger Americans.
They need to reach out to younger Americans, and they need to reach out in an authentic way.
Let's ask this old-ass black man about how the Democratic Party needs younger people representing them.
I think that what makes AOC effective is not only that she's younger, but that she comes off authentic without saying, "I'm trying to kick the older crowd aside," because it was very important. She did that tour with 83-year-old Bernie Sanders, while some of the younger members of Congress saying the old guard needs to retire. She's showing a balance and a maturity as a young person and a message that penetrates.
And by the way, what a great message to have. You've got all these Ivy League boys, that are in the Trump administration that went all the, no offense to Ivy League boys here or anywhere, but all these guys, billionaire Ivy Leaguers.
Oh, I don't want to offend the Ivy League boys.
Right, attacking her, going, "Oh, she's an elite." And she's like, "What do you do?" I was like a bartender or a barista or whatever she was. She's like, "What are you talking about?" Right. I had to work my ass off to like stay one step ahead of creditors and debtors. I know you.
And she talks as one who was had to work her way.
Wow. Okay. AOC is the best the Democratic Party has. This is good news, everybody.
War room since 3 a.m. This operation launched by India, Operation Sindoor, struck 9 terrorist sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Let me come back to Dharmjot now. Yeah, right now. We just heard that all the chiefs were there in the war room. If you could just brief us on that and how all this took place. And this was while India was also preparing for the mock drills.
Slip and Jimmy, China has actual police stations and military bases in Canada.
Well, that's pretty much
true,
the point, Jyots, now.
They have police stations in America, too. There's one in New York City. There's a couple in California.
The entire mock drill.
Why does China have their own police stations in the United States?
Indian armed forces went ahead and carried out a precision strike on 9 terror hotspots in Pakistan and parts of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir when nobody was expecting it. And we've seen how the entire scenario has unfolded in the past 2 weeks, where Pakistan kept making statements and claiming that, well, there's a strike coming from the Indian side within 24 to 36 hours. Then that moved to, well, a strike is coming in 3 to 4 days. None of that happened in the last week. And so while attentions were diverted, a diplomatic flurry of activity was going on both sides. We were seeing Pakistan bang on the door of the UNSC to try and get a word in. While all of that was happening, hours after that, we see the Indian Armed Forces put out a statement in the wee hours of the morning today, confirming that they have successfully carried out these strikes under the code name of Operation Sindoor. And as we're being told by sources that the CDS, all the 3 service chiefs, and also Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor of India, were present in the war room till 3 a.m. monitoring the entire situation. We were also told earlier today that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also being kept abreast on real-time basis of everything that unfolded earlier in the day today, Jyotsna. Jyotsna. So this is what we know so far. Of course, more details will be coming out as and when the joint press conference is held by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Armed Forces at 10 a.m. today, followed by a cabinet security meeting at 11 a.m. So more statements, more details and more information is awaited, Jyotsna.
And this all comes as we are also seeing preparations of these mock drills, civil defense mock drills that's happening. What's your assessment on that?
Well, I think that's what has everybody surprised, Jyotsna, which is what I was also saying earlier. While the attention of everyone was diverted towards the mock drills that are supposed to be held, because there were over 155 locations that were supposed to undergo these particular drills. In the middle of all that, in the midst of all the preparation that was going on across the country, we have this targeted strike that's carried out on terror hotspots in Pakistan. Now, having said that, there is still no clear information or blanket change in decision with respect to this particular this particular mock drill in preparation for any unprecedented escalation on the border. We don't know for sure officially whether or not the situation or the decision has changed with respect to the timeline of these drills being carried out. We do know that as per the original timeline, most of the drills were supposed to be carried out at 4 p.m. in the evening today.
Redeeming is happening.
There doesn't seem to be any change to that plan yet. We did see some visuals coming in from different parts of India, from Uttar Pradesh, from Bihar a few minutes ago, where preparation for these mock drills is still being carried out right now. However, there are also some reports that certain spots in Delhi have postponed the mock drill to tomorrow. Now, like I said, there is no blanket decision that has been taken for the entire country with respect to these drills. However, I think there is more confirmation and more concrete information awaited on this once the joint press conference happens, once the cabinet meeting happens, and all officials, political, intelligence and military put their heads together and make a decision and an assessment on the ongoing situation, Jyotsna.
Absolutely, Dharamjot, of course, as you mentioned rightly, the attention
apparently targets in Iran have been selected and conveyed to the White House.
What we've seen happen overnight.
Is that Trump's big announcement later this week? We're bombing Iran?
To come, that is something that remains to be seen. Now, in the news that is just coming in, the three service chiefs, CDS and NSA, were present in the Ministry of Defence's war room till 3 a.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is constantly monitoring the Operation Sindoor that we're talking about through the course of the night. The strike on all 9 targets successful. This is what we know, of course, 15 days after the terror attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, where 26 innocent civilians were killed. Indian armed forces have hit back, targeting terror camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Pakistan's Punjab province. According to the Indian sources, a total of 9 terror sites were targeted in the overnight precision strikes under the codename Operation Sindoor. This was a coordinated strike by the Indian Army and the Air Force. Terrorist groups Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed's bases were hit in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Captain Alok Bansal, Director of India Foundation, Executive Director of South Asian Institute for Strategic Affairs, joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you know what's happened overnight. India launched Operation Sindoor, a resolute response to Pakistan's terror attack in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. After that, we've seen overnight shelling. Pakistan, of course, has been conducting ceasefire violations for the past 13 days. India has responded.
13 days.
What is your assessment of Operation Sindoor?
See, firstly, there was a huge uproar after the Pahalgam attack, and I think Indian public as well as the government wanted to bring the perpetrators to justice. And consequently, India has launched these attacks on 9 sites, and all of them are associated with terrorist organizations. 3 of them mainly Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Hizbul Mujahideen. What is significant is that these strikes are not only confined to Pak-occupied Jammu Kashmir, but also to the Pakistani heartland of Punjab. 4 of them are in Punjab, and 3 of them from a region from where most of the recruitment for Pakistan Army takes place. Important is that both Muridke, which is the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toiba, as well as Bahawalpur, which is the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, have been targeted. And my input from Bahawalpur tells me that there were huge blasts. I think 4 to 7 blasts.
Imagine Austin dubbed in Hindi.
And which has caused huge damage in Bahawalpur.
That's it. I'm going to learn Hindi and do an entire stream in Hindi.
What is the immediate impact? Probably it will take some time before we get the input what happened there. So it has been a fairly successful strike. The India's reaction was quite restrained. We did not target any military target or any economic target. The aim was to punish the terrorists and not to escalate the conflict.
Right, Mr. Bansal, of course, we were earlier talking to Lieutenant General Raj Shukla, and he pointed out something that I would like to bring up with you as well, that this is more of a message of Indian statecraft. India, as you mentioned as well, has responded resolutely. It's shown considerable restraint. Of course, it is now the escalatory dominance lies with India as well, just by way of how it's responded to the terror attack in Pahalgam. Post that, we've seen Pakistani forces. We're not talking about the terrorists. We're not talking about the terror infrastructure. We're talking about Pakistani
they can hear their accents too,
have
right?
Responded with heavy
I don't know. It might be like a ceiling bird situation.
3 civilians have lost their lives so far. That's what we know. What is your response to that? As I said earlier as well, the escalatory dominance lies with India. We're of course waiting for the briefing that's set to happen at 10 a.m. But if we were to make an assessment of what's to come in the days going forward.
See, we need to understand that Pakistan has serious constraints because it does not have either the military wherewithal or the economic wherewithal to pursue a long conflict with India. But at the same time, Pakistan's military has maintained a sort of dominance and a preeminence in the body politic of Pakistan. And if they have to retain that, they have to show to their public that they're doing something. So the best they could do was to carry out artillery shelling, especially in southern part of the line of control, where the population across the line of control is not generally favorably disposed towards them. So this shelling has continued and India has started retaliating. But I can tell you that Pakistan will not be able to pursue this because according to my inputs, a large chunk of Pakistan's ammunition was transferred to Ukraine in recent past, and as a result Pakistan's armed forces are quite low as far as artillery ammunition is concerned, and I think it will be difficult for them to continue this sort of tit-for-tat offensive. Consequently, what Pakistan is doing is that they have launched a propaganda drive where their defense minister is saying that they have brought down 5 Indian planes.
Breaking. Antifa militants are hunting down an elderly couple in Seattle after they left the Riley Gaines TPUSA event. Police refused to make an arrest. So, Antifa, back at it. There was a lot of Antifa action last night in Seattle. Back at it again today.
Back to the earth and kill yourself. Kill yourself, you old fucks.
So are you gonna kill yourself tonight and be a good fucking boy?
Wow.
Swing me back and forth.
Are you gonna be submissive and drop fucking dead for me, babe?
Imagine if a rifle shot you in the head, you'd be so beautiful, Dad. Let's go, man.
I bet your old ass blood is beautiful on the concrete.
Hunting equals following, yellowing commie shit with cracking voices? I guess so. Look at it attempt to run.
You are too cocky to be a transphobe.
Huh?
Kill yourself, you old transphobe! Die!
I think we're gonna die before they find their car. Oh my god!
Because they can't.
Wow, I'm so funny.
They can't remember where the car is. They should not be driving.
Yeah.
These two should not be driving.
Safe drivers.
What? You're drunk? She's drunk. She can't drive. You don't know. She's drunk. She can't drive. 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 She's drunk. That's probable cause. She can't fucking drive.
I learned the Washington State false imprisonment law.
I love how they're picking on elderly folks.
Is that your car? Okay, let's get in quickly, please.
They can't do that. Look at them. All right, yo. Let's not break a hip now.
You look like you don't have a single thought in that mind. You just follow.
Thank you. You guys have a good day. Peace.
Don't drop your ratchet joints.
Kill yourself.
You miserable fucks. Drop dead. Drop fucking dead. Drop fucking dead.
Oh, man,
We did it, guys!
Oh no! Oh no!
Viva la revolution! Paco, they have to pick on the weak. Exactly. Let's see if there's any more video out of Seattle from that guy. Officers just snatched a transgender flag from a protester at Seattle Riley Gaines event, but then immediately returned it. Why can you sometimes pop out videos from X and then other times can't? Now they started on the squirrels. That's private property! We believe in the Constitution now! Not private property! Right to assembly!
Unlawful seizure of private property!
Give me my flag back!
A hardcore Islamist. He may not appear
right?
So,
yeah, I thought commies didn't like private
as I
property.
Said, he has been brought up in an environment which makes him quite a hardcore Islamist. And that's why that statement, which was trying to reinforce two-nation theory, even the attack in Pahalgam you saw was made after identifying religion of the targeted people. So basic purpose was to create a reaction in India, create a communal situation in India, and also to draw support from the Islamic world by and large. He's tried to make this conflict look communal. Unfortunately for him, it has not really worked. The Indian public has shown its maturity by standing together. The Kashmiri citizens have all opposed these terror attacks and have actually protested against it across the length and breadth of Jammu and Kashmir. Similarly, there have been no communal riots in India. So as a result, even in the international community, you see that all Islamic states, by and large, have supported India's stance and have called for peace to be restored. So Pakistan's narrative, as far as this conflict is concerned, has fallen flat because everybody today understands that there is no scope for tolerating terror acts and supporting terrorism. And everybody knows that Pakistan has been the epicenter of terror. Irrespective of where a terrorist attack happens across the globe, there are some strands which are linked to Pakistan. And as a result, any denial by Pakistan lacks credibility at this point of time, and international community knows it.
Black Bloc Antifa militant has surrounded a man who detransitioned after getting sex change.
I can't believe you actually think you're a woman, sir. I'm not a woman. You think you're a woman? I'm not a woman. She just said that you're a she. You're definitely not a she, sir. I know I'm not. You should be aware, both of you. You sound like a man. Why are you AJP? Why are you projecting with your AJP? I'm doing here. Why'd you get off from pressing on my You have a bit of cup, Jay. Why do you not feel like confronting back the restrictions that you're across the road? That's fucking bullshit. We had a little bit of bullshit, right? That's right. One place where we live. One place where we live. Why do you dress like one place where we live? I look like a woman. I act like an effeminate female. One place where we live. One place where we live.
Let's see, what is this? Antifa militant assaulted a volunteer at TPUSA event, Riley Gaines event. The militant suspect threw a bag of feces at the victim. There's definitely a theme tonight in the zone.
What are you protecting? You're protecting people like Go back home! Go back home! You are here to harm children, to take away essential care. 72% increase in suicide rates. You see the numbers up there, youth death, and the well-measured statistic at this point. You're here to kill children.
Is that poop?
Yeah.
Pretty cool webcast, pretty fun topics.
Hi everyone, my name is Vi and my pronouns are he and they. I'm a genderqueer Christian, lifelong Washington resident and a student here at the University of Washington. As a supporter, I want to mention a couple of things before I get into the body of my speech. Firstly, a large group of student protesters in Palestine occupied the IEB last night to demand divestment from Boeing. 30 or so of them were arrested yesterday. That's right, 10. Thankfully, they have all been released today.
Oh, so this is when it was taken, just from the other angle.
I bring this up not to scare you, but in light of this, I want to provide a friendly reminder that the virus is dead on, and that includes us. It says more about them than it does about us, but it's very important for us to look out for each other and take operational security measures. Secondly, lost my spot. Secondly, I of course want to express my utmost gratitude that all of you are here to advocate for the rights and livelihoods of trans.
Police officers seized the bag of feces as evidence. No arrests have been made as of now.
Lifestyle. I don't care. Go home. Where is transport really popular? What parts of the country? Oh, I know. It's the parts of the country you come from. Like, are you masturbating in there? Is this like a side bullshit that you're all participating in over there? Like, what are you doing?
Antifa militants and trans activists have taken a break from speeches to conduct a security training.
Hey, I'm going to introduce Rob real quick to talk about some security stuff, and then we'll get back to chants and speeches. Woo! Alright, hi. First things first, who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. Down here, who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. The cops keep us safe? No. Say it again? No. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. That's right. Woo! It's really smart. It's going to be really easy. If the cops try to talk to you, just talk to them. Say it again? No. Yeah, I like that. If you guys see this signal, everyone do it?
Everyone do it now!
Yeah.
That means I'm drowning.
West. That means we disperse and we're going west. That's all you need to know. We're going west and it's about...
Wait, which way is west? Who has a compass?
We're going to go west there. You'll see. Obvious. All right? Besides that, we don't talk to cops. We don't talk to police. Maybe that's the thing.
We don't talk to press.
One more time. Who keeps us safe?
Because we don't trust you morons to not say something stupid. Yeah, they're not safe from hepatitis.
No ICE on campus! No trans folks on campus! No rioting on campus! No Olivia on campus! No TPUSA on campus! No Republicans on campus!
Well, that was cute.
Any commander
Back
on
to
the site
the SAR
who's on the
Wars.
boundary border can take any action unilaterally which may escalate the issue. So while no country wants an escalation, but that feasibility or possibility cannot be denied, because in this sort of a state of heightened tensions, the autonomy that commanders on ground get could lead to escalation at any time, at any place.
All right, I hear you. But just to further, just for better understanding here as well, we know that India has demonstrated its preparedness. We know it's prepared for any scenario. It has taken 15 days and it's come up with a resolute and a clear response, albeit showing considerable restraint as well. It's a precision strike. That being said, we've spoken of Pakistan's vulnerabilities as well. What will it take for the two sides, or perhaps Pakistan at this point, to back off and realize that perhaps a diplomatic solution is the best option for them at this point?
See, Pakistan, I think, realizes it before the strike itself that the diplomatic solution is the best option for it. But it cannot have a loss of face, especially the army, because in Pakistan you need to understand that democratic dispensation is only a facade. The real power, as far as India is concerned, or these issues of security and foreign policy are concerned, are with the Pakistan army. And for them, loss of face is a major issue, especially for General Asim Munir, who's consolidated his position in the army after huge dissensions, after sacking a lot of generals, and after imprisoning one of the contenders to the post of the chief. So he has a problem. So he would want to show to the domestic audience. And one way is by peddling a false narrative, which they are trying to do. If that narrative sells, they would have, I think, no hesitation in going for a negotiated settlement. However, if that narrative does not sell and Pakistan's population starts criticizing the army, they would try and save face by pretending to act. So that's the feasibility that exists at this point of time. As I said, Pakistan cannot afford a war. So that's why they are talking about nuclear saber rattling and all those issues, which they keep repeating time and again.
I'm glad that you've mentioned that as well, because we've been seeing that this nuclear bogey, we've been hearing about it. Pakistan has been talking about raising the nuclear threat as well. Do you think their bluff has been called?
See, I think there is no doubt that Pakistan's statement was if there is a threat to their existence or something like that. In any case, Pakistan is an occupation of a huge territory of India. And if India has to give a military response, there are numerous ways which it can be given. And I think their nuclear bogey has definitely been called. Nuclear weapons are not for use. So all these bunkum about tactical nuclear weapons, etc., I think it's unusable, because India's nuclear doctrine is very clear that use of any nuclear weapon against Indian troops or Indian territory anywhere of any type will elicit a massive retaliation. So with that sort of a nuclear doctrine, I personally feel Pakistan would not be able to cross the Rubicon. This is just an ideal threat, basically to pressurize the international community to act. From India's point of view, a prolonged state of tension where Pakistan can be starved is a better option than probably escalating the tensions.
All right. Well, Captain Alok Bansal, thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One with your insights and your perspective on this. We'll, of course, continue to track the situation very closely, and there'll be lots more to discuss going forward as well. Thank you so much. With that, we're calling it a wrap on this edition of the News Bulletin. Don't go anywhere. News and updates will continue on the other side on WION World is One. Do stay tuned.
The Star Wars already over? This episode sucked.
Yo One Health Resort.
किसी किस्म का कोई खौफ नहीं है लोगों के दरमियान। लोग बिल्कुल अपने ईमान के साथ, अपनी इत्मीनानी कुव्वत के साथ पाक फौज है पाकिस्तान के साथ, और कश्मीरी का बच्चा हर घर से मुजाहिद निकलेगा जो इंडिया के लिए बर्बादी का सबब बनेगा। शाह साहब ये बताएं, ये किस टाइम का वाकया है?
In part from a negotiation perspective, and in part because that's why Carney was elected, because he would take a tougher line on Trump, and Canadians perceive that Pierre Poilievre would
Canada
not
is taking a tough line on Trump.
So if he doesn't, I think there's going to be a big pushback in Canada.
And it'll be interesting to watch as we're taking that live look there at the White House as well. Let's talk about the tariffs a bit more, though.
Yeah, we got to check in on the pitch drop.
At this point, we do know
we
that
haven't checked in on the pitch drop tonight.
If there's anything that he could say to him to convince him to lift the tariffs on Canadian automobiles, steel, and aluminum. Trump, though, responded pretty flatly to that question.
The pitch has still not dropped.
But said basically there's nothing that can be done at this point. What do we think happens next? Because, of course, we've heard the Canadian Prime Minister speak out about how these tariffs are harming their economy. Here, some folks here in the U.S. are also skeptical to see how these will affect the U.S. economy.
Yeah, two things. Trump said today there's nothing that could be said. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Because on tariffs, the president will declare that there is no room for maneuverability, and then he will maneuver. So I think the Canadians understand that, and we'll wait to see what happens. But actually, I think...
No sound here.
From the United States. Right now, I think American auto producers are holding.
But we need to redeem ourselves in Contexto.
Holding a big card here.
I don't know.
The tariffs are actually increasing the cost.
Last night was bad.
Of cars in the United States.
We couldn't do anything right last night
because of the tariffs on the parts, and so I suspect that whatever movement you're going to see will initially come from industry leaders in the U.S., even more so than consumers, saying. we're going to need some sort of movement. We're going to need some sort of concessions on some of these areas, parts for the American auto industry. And there's just so much cross-border trade at this point, and so many American corporations rely on Canadian suppliers and vice versa, that it's hard to imagine that there won't be some sort of movement, just because there's going to be such demands coming from the United States.
And we're still watching and seeing some of this footage from earlier today. We do know that the relationship is seemingly moving forward. I actually want to put this back up on the screen. We're showing this for a second. That was the moment that Prime Minister Carney arrived there at the Oval Office and the White House, shaking hands. And even their demeanors within the meeting seemed pretty friendly, despite the pretty tough conversations that were happening. We also know that in a separate press conference afterwards, Prime Minister Carney did say that he and Trump did agree to continue these talks on trade at the staff and leader levels and to meet once again at the G7 summit next month in Canada. Do we expect that these conversations will actually lead to some sort of bigger change to happen out of it? Today seemed more like a friendly meet and greet where they lightly discuss those issues.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do want to say is that I think Canada's selection of Carney as Prime Minister with his background. I mean, he's a banker. He understands Trump. He's worked in the he's worked in the business
it'll take
sector,
a nuclear blast to make that pitch drop,
etc.
Would that even count
was
then?
Quite a bit of personal animosity between Trump and Justin Trudeau. So at one level, the improvement in the relationship, I think, comes from a personal level, and I think it's fair to say that Donald Trump is one of the most his personal relationships with leaders play a bigger role than traditionally, or perhaps even, I don't want to say more than anything, at any time historically, but it's pretty high on that list. Do I think there's going to be some sort of movement? Absolutely. And one of the big things is that's going to be next month. And one thing that I've learned, I think we've all learned in following the news, is a lot can happen in a month. We just don't know, how things are going to develop. If the U.S.
Notice, sir, why would you go to Friarman?
To threaten to fall into a recession and the GDP is not growing, that is going to compel American action. Because the other thing I think with Trump is that he has this goal in mind for more tariffs and has this belief that tariffs are going to improve the American economy. But he's very...
There's really no updates on the India-Pakistan situation. We'll see if there's retaliation today, or it's today in it's a morning there now, right? It's 8:30 a.m. in Pakistan. 9:04 a.m. in India. India uses only one time zone, even though it spans 2 geographical time zones. They call it Indian Standard Time. And they split it down the middle. That's why it's... Wow, that's weird. It's 9:04 a.m. there. But it's 8:34 in Pakistan. I didn't know India did that. So India's 30 minutes off from the rest of the world? What the fuck? That's so stupid. Just have 2 time zones. Jay, they're both on a bathroom break.
Pakistanis could not detect. The reaction time available to them was very, very less, and therefore we have achieved a fair amount of success as far as taking revenge is concerned.
Of the current U.S.-Mexico
Myanmar does that too.
Trade pact that he negotiated during his first term. It's interesting to see that this is now coming back to this state. Are these two nations, as you said, that we've watched the U.S.-Mexico relationship and how that's changed underneath the second administration. Are you shocked at all to see, though, that this is President Trump's approach to a pact that he negotiated himself just about 8 years ago?
Am I shocked? No.
going on
So we
here?
just got 2 super chats right here. 3 of them. Damn, I'm gonna have to start racking this up.
Northbound priority, check the well for Old Navy, 9280 Redfield.
FT, World War Poo is on a bathroom break. To be determined. Jill, in Canada we have a place in a time zone of their own, Atlantic time zone. They're 1.5 hours ahead of Eastern time zone. I mean, I guess do whatever you want. It just seems a little ridiculous to me. Very Canadian. Susie, what's going on in Seattle? Are they starting the autonomous zone again? I don't think so. Have you seen something new out of Seattle? We were just watching a bunch of videos from earlier in Seattle.
All right, cool. We're doing it. All right, so far we got let's see. I'm gonna even calculate the super chats and super stickers in that 16.
Okay. More video out of Seattle. Katie Davis Court and Cam Higby were chased by Antifa militants targeting elderly people. Cam was forced to deploy mace in act of self-defense. Antifa robbed him of his GoPro. Wow.
Scared? Why are you scared? Uh-oh. I'm just walking. Stop! Don't touch me. You guys liked it. Thank you. Run! Run! Run, run, run! Base! Run! Scared? Why?
Come on, just knock these fuckers out. Make this one run a little bit towards you. That'll end him. I thank Cam for his heroic actions that prevented us from being assaulted. Cam Higby is filing a police report, which is being investigated as a robbery. Seattle police won't do shit. Literally.
They themselves say the terrorists, we are also fed up of terrorists. So that's what we have done. So we are doing a favor to not only Pakistanis, but entire humanity by getting rid of the vermins. And that's what we've done.
Bradford Mail Prick. Good to see you. It's like a normal morning in Pakistan.
Class missile which Pakistanis could not detect. The reaction time available to them was very, very less, and therefore we have achieved a fair amount of success as far as taking revenge is concerned.
States, UK, Russia. Russia, but also Saudi Arabia, UAE, and conversations have been held at different levels. And I think it's important to immediately brief your partners at the global arena about exactly the nature of your strikes, the intentions behind it,
assessment,
and what could be.
Mr. Shringla, your assessment of some of the responses that we've been getting from the United States, the UAE, and some of our other partners, Israel, do you believe that the world is going to lean on Pakistan now to perhaps pull back, restrain itself, and not go down the path that it has? India has only targeted terror infrastructure. So, first of all, the choice of targets diplomatically, what does that convey? And secondly, how the international community has responded to India's outreach?
So I think in the first place, all our interlocutors have appreciated the fact that our response was very calibrated and very precise, that we focused on non-state actors and terrorist infrastructure. At this, and we did not in any way, want this to be an escalatory sort of situation. And I think our interlocutors do understand that they now need to lean very heavily on Pakistan. I don't think this is what we are saying, but this is coming from their side, that they don't want this to escalate. They don't want this to become another confrontational arena. That what had been necessary in response to terrorist attack has been undertaken, and that Pakistan needs to now get its own house in order rather than to escalate matters that for which we are also fully prepared and would be responsive. So this is something that I think at the global diplomatic level, phone lines will be working overtime. I think there will be a lot of calls being made at very high levels, and then certainly I think Pakistan would feel the pressure of some of its major international.
I also want to ask you, since you said Pakistan will feel the pressure, obviously the Americans have leverage over the Pakistanis, the Saudis do, the UAE, Emiratis do. What about China? Why are we not hearing about conversations with China? Because if there's any country that can bring pressure to bear on Pakistan, it would be China, right? Even in these last 2 weeks, I've not heard of any conversation between Foreign Minister and his counterpart in China. Why is that?
Well, China has, to some extent, been supportive of Pakistan following the Pahalgam attacks, and we've seen some levels of exchanges, some support in terms of equipment, etc., being supplied. Clearly, China was not willing to leave its so-called all-weather friend, when it comes to an actual confrontation with India. I don't know how much we can rely on them, but I think even China would understand that any escalation of this conflict is not in the best interests of its own best interests and anyone else's interests. So I'm sure quietly they're also doing their bit to ensure that this issue does not get beyond what it has already reached. But I don't think we as a country could count on China to act at our behest, or to act in a manner that would be in the interest of.
Okay, and very quickly, a final word before we thank you. The IMF meeting, the bailout meeting, is happening in 2 days' time from now in Washington. Do you think that will be pressure enough on Pakistan not to climb the escalation ladder, not to
bailout meeting?
That's very important because
who are we bailing out now?
I was very heavily relying on the IMF bailout. They've availed of very large, 22 or 23 bailouts so far. And I think it's important that they continue getting that IMF support that they're looking for. I think our approach there will be calibrated by their actions, but clearly I don't think we are in a mood to allow them any more leeway in that area. And our representatives in the IMF, I think, will be acting under very strict instructions when it comes to their
Finally,
responses.
Mr. Shringla, look, the IMF at some level takes its cue also from DC. So is the Indian government, has it been able to impress upon the Trump administration to leverage their muscle, their weight, their influence over the IMF? Because that's an important thing that we're looking at. Also, of course, the FATF grey list.
Yes, so I cannot say with any level of certainty, but I do recall that in similar instances when I was in DC, I had gone across, met the Assistant Treasury Secretary or the Deputy Treasury Secretary, the Minister of State for Finance, if you may call it the equivalent of that, and pressed upon the need for the US to take steps that would be in keeping with responsible actions and our own desires. And the US at that time was very responsive because they saw Pakistan as a malign terrorist actor and certainly were supportive of our efforts, very supportive. So I have no doubt that they will be supportive even in this instance.
All right. Harshinglaji, I just have one question, your own personal opinion on this operation being named Operation Sindoor.
No, I think it's very fitting. I mean, nobody better than Lieutenant Nawaz's father can tell us, and I think, and all of the others who've already responded, that this is a fitting sort of title, considering that, it is the women who were spared, but nonetheless who have to now face the agony of living their lives without their husbands and their dear ones and close ones. And I think Operation Sindoor is a very strong symbol of the country's, rage and frustration that has led to the action that we saw in POK and Pakistan earlier this morning. So I think this is a very appropriate sort of.
Thank you, Harshinglaji, for speaking with us. We got news coming through. The stock markets have started trading. The Sensex is down by 460 points. Nifty is down by 80 points. We try and go across to Sherin joining us with more on this. Yes,
how are our futures looking?
Yes, the Indian stock markets have opened, and it's good morning. This is a very sort of par for course kind of move as far as the markets are concerned. Clearly, the markets are not reflecting or indicating any kind of capitulation or panic move.
Market doesn't give a shit about India and Pakistan. Shit, our futures are up almost a percent. No one gives a damn about this.
Down just about 20 points, and similar story playing out for the Sensex. So it is a measured opening there as far as the markets are concerned. But the markets will track what is going to happen in terms of a response. At the end of the day, as they say, capital is a coward. It moves to where it feels safe. But at this point in time, there are several other factors to contend with as well. In fact, overnight we had the big India-UK FTA go through. So if you look at the stock markets, a lot of those stocks are reacting positively. The apparel makers and so on and so forth are reacting positively. The defense stocks are, of course, reacting on account of the news of Operation Sindoor as well. A lot of moving parts in terms of sectors that are likely to see an immediate impact. Travel, flight disruptions already a thing that we will need to deal with. So,
really, my call center EFT is way down.
If they intend to travel, there are airport closures.
Dang, I shouldn't have gone all in on call center scams. Right when I get it, right when I buy at the top, of course.
Over a dozen or so airports are not open for civilian purposes at this point in time. So that's going to be a separate side of the story to watch out for. Advisories being issued at this point in time. The UK government issuing an advisory. We will have to watch and monitor how foreign governments react to this. And of course, the US, you were talking about the IMF. That crucial meeting is on the 9th. Will there be a change as far as the IMF's position on any further loans to Pakistan is concerned? That is going to be the big question. But at this point in time, Secretary Rubio and President Trump both asking for de-escalation. All of that will, of course, play out as far as market sentiment is concerned. And by the way, at this point in time, the Nifty has moved into positive territory. So as I said, it's a very measured reaction by the Indian stock market.
So Shirin, just very quickly, I mean, how much of this is because of the fact that markets had already sort of factored in some kind of kinetic response by India? And also, secondly, the announcement of the free trade agreement yesterday with the UK, I believe there was some announcement of some kind of deal with the US as well that came late night. Again, how do you see that playing out once the immediacy of this operation and possible retaliation by Pakistan, once that cloud passes, do you think the markets will continue?
They're already in the green now, even as we speak. Yes, Shireen.
party
yes,
in the green.
And that's what I was.
Markets love war.
That we've already seen the response from the markets moving into positive territory at this point in time because nobody wants an escalation, and certainly the markets would not want an escalation. But was there going to be a response? I think that had already been factored in by the markets, and the hope now is that it will stop here. And you talked about several of the other developments, and I pointed that out as well. The India-UK FTA is a big deal because it does impact, a lot of the labor-intensive sectors in India. So you're already seeing, for instance, apparel makers up and running today from a stock market point of view. Those stocks are moving higher. So all of these, of course, will be moving parts. The markets don't like uncertainty, and that is going to be something that we need to watch out for. But so far, as I pointed out,
everything she's saying, markets don't want escalation. Markets hate uncertainty. There's literally an escalating possible nuclear war going on between Pakistan and India with a lot of uncertainty, and markets are going up. Markets seem to love it.
This is a long haul, so we all have to dig in our heels and perhaps wait on, because developments are going to happen thick and fast. In about 40 minutes, we should have the press briefing. Tilak Devasharji, Bharat's response, 9 targets on this side. Do we see Pakistan getting stretched if it tries to concentrate too much weight towards its eastern side?
Good morning, Anand, and morning to all the panelists. A lot has already been spoken, and I was certainly very impressed with the name Operation Sindoor. I think it captures the anguish and the pain and the response of India extremely well. Whoever has thought of this name requires real compliments.
We are given to understand the Prime Minister thought about this. It was suggested by the Prime Minister himself.
Yeah, so you can well imagine, he brings the weight of the civilization. He brings the weight of Bharat and culture into this one operational word, which signifies what India is trying to do. I think this has been a very, very impactful morning because 9 targets, standoff aircraft not entering Pakistan's airspace, targeting terror camps, including the snake pits of Muridke and Bawalpur and other associated camps, is a very, very significant strike. And one thing which I want to mention, the kind of propaganda, and this is going to be a war of narratives also, the kind of narrative being pushed out by Pakistan is, in the list they have given, that only mosques were targeted. So in all places, for example, if I can just mention
Fed is probably most likely definitely not going to cut rates tomorrow.
They mentioned that mosques were targeted. Now this is being done deliberately. But the fact of the matter is,
Dougie, welcome to the chat over on Twitch.
Have got either medical centers or mosques in front of where the training is taking place.
They are markers, hubs or centers like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there it's very easy to then, for propaganda purposes, and the signal that they gave that India is targeting mosques, it is trying to hurt the Muslims' places of religious worship. This is something that we have to guard against, and we have to demolish such a narrative that this is not there, that if you have a training center behind a mosque or inside a mosque, but what do you think is going to happen? India is not going to put darlings. So, this is something which is an important factor.
Tilakji, please hold your thoughts. We've just got updates coming through. Prime Minister Narendra Modi continuously monitoring this operation at 7 Lokalyan Marg. NSA Ajit Doval constantly giving information. There is a picture also of the Prime Minister watching the operations from the war room at that when this was happening. So PM continuously monitoring Operation Sindoor. The press conference or the press briefing has been delayed by half an hour. Perhaps some calibration or to ensure that Bharat is ready for a response, reprisal, and all those who are part of the operation are also back in base safe and sound. The Prime Minister continuously monitoring the operation. That's the update that we have at this point. Going back
to there is no update.
Yes. So, and now Pakistan response. You see, Pakistan will respond within 24 to 36 hours. Make no bones about it. Because it has to show its people that it has the capability and it has the capacity to respond. Now, this could be sheer bravado also, because they know that they cannot continue with it. But you can expect a reaction. The reaction will probably...
only because no one can figure out what time it is over there.
It will be
exactly.
using the air assets. They could also use missiles. But a reaction from Pakistan will come. Then the question will become, then what does India do? Does India stop at that level?
Okay.
Or you take it one notch higher? You see, my own sense is that you can stop at this level and that this crisis then draws down.
Blows over, yeah.
But what happens 2 years down the road when Pakistan indulges in terrorism again? The sense that you get from what the Prime Minister had to say in Bihar, what the Home Minister, what the Defence Minister have been saying, that you cannot allow Pakistan to continue with this bleeding India. Every now and then when an army chief feels he needs to burnish his image and to show how much of a macho guy he is, to launch another terrorist attack and innocent Indians get killed. So is it probably better to absorb pain once, now, go up the escalatory ladder, continue to maintain dominance, but make sure that the message that gets to Pakistan is so harsh that it will not dare do something like this again.
All right, Mr. Deveshwar, just give me 1 second. We're getting more breaking news, and I want to go across to Payal, my colleague. So
more
the
breaking
Prime Minister
news.
is getting continuous briefings about what's going on, the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, how long it lasted, the targets, what the operational details are, the damage that's been left behind, and of course now he has to manage the diplomatic fallout of it as well. Payal, what more details do we have? Who all are there? Who all are briefing the Prime Minister on a minute-to-minute basis?
Breaking news is that the Prime Minister is monitoring the
during
news.
the operation, and now, of course, more importantly, the aftermath of the operation.
Is he watching this channel about the breaking news that he's watching the news?
It's probably communication that he's having with the Prime Minister, briefing him about what really transpired, what is the aftermath, how is the world reacting to it, how is, of course, Pakistan also reacting.
I hope he's up to date on the fact that he's watching the news.
About Jammu and Kashmir, and knows a lot of things about Pakistan as well. But, this is going to be a very, very important briefing that the Prime Minister is getting ahead of the official briefing that the armed forces will be doing at about 10:30 this morning. Of course, the government wants to make sure that they have all the information and accuracy, and it will be important to see if the government also decides to go ahead and brief other constitutional authorities, whether it's the Vice President of India, the President of India, etc. as well. That call has to be taken, but as of now, what we are given to understand that Ajit Doval is briefing the Prime Minister by the second, and we also reported earlier this morning, Dhaka, that the Prime Minister was monitoring the details right through the night, and of course, the War Room also had a small group of people who were monitoring the situation. So, whether it's a physical briefing or not, we're not really sure, but we do understand that Ajit Doval is still briefing the Prime Minister, and that is going to be an important briefing ahead of the official briefing that takes place at the National Media Center at 10:30 this morning.
Well, I think there is a reason why this has been delayed. Sushant Sareen, Tilak Devashar with us. Sushant Sareen, do you agree, disagree with Tilak Devashar that this time around Bharat's posture is that we will take the losses at a on hand right now, bear with it, brace for perhaps a certain level of impact, but continue to push through so that there is a long-term breakaway or deterrence for Pakistan in terms of fomenting terror on Indian soil?
Look, number one, I'm convinced there is no long-term deterrence. You will have to keep re-establishing the deterrence, and you will have to keep, building up your own defense sinews much more than what we have done over the last many years. Some ways we've neglected it. But I think we will have to go up the escalation ladder. I have no doubt in my mind that we'll have to do it if the Pakistanis were to do something extremely provocative. If they were going to come and do something which, is water off a duck's back, then maybe, yes, we can just let it slide. But other than that, I think we will have to go up the escalation ladder. That's a no-brainer. But look, here is the thing. How far are the Pakis also going to be willing to go? And I think that is a calculation that they will also have to make. Because they also know that there are very serious consequences that await them. All this bravado which they are showing, they can show. And let's also be very clear about one thing, Anand. Even in the past skirmishes and wars and conflicts that we've had with the Pakistanis, invariably what happens is that when this thing starts, they tend to pull a surprise or two over us. It has happened in Kargil, it has happened otherwise on a number of occasions. And then, our guys, they get their act together, they have their feet more firmly planted on the ground, and then they hit back with everything they've got. Now, the parties, if they want to go down that road, by all means, be my guest. But they also have to factor in the consequences of what they will be getting into. So I think this is a calculation both sides will have to make. And my own sense is that we will have to go up, not because that is going to end this menace of terrorism. No, maybe it will give us some relief for a couple of years, and then, as Mr. Deveshwar says, there will be another army chief, if not in the next 3 years, 4 years, then in the next 10 years, maybe in the next 15 years. Asim Munir is not going to live forever, even though he's probably appointed himself army chief for life. But there will be a new army chief, right? And at that point of time, that guy will want to try something again. Or if Asim Munir's position becomes weak in the next 6 months, 1 year, he might be tempted to try it again. So I think the message which you have to deliver is, you try something like this, then there are these kind of consequences that are going to visit you. Which essentially means that we now have to be on a 24/7 kind of a vigil as far as Pakistan is concerned, and we need to increase our defense capabilities to a point where you don't even have to wait for 2 weeks anymore. You will retaliate within hours of any adventurism by the Pakistanis on the terrorism front or on any other front. And I think that is the direction in which we should move. But unfortunately, I think, we tend to be complacent after we do some things, and then we slide back into that element.
Is there a way to break out of that cycle? More importantly, are we willing to pay the cost to break out of that cycle, if at all there is a way to break out of that cycle? I'm also joined by Lieutenant General retired Subrat Saha, former member of the National Security Advisory Board and former GOC of the 15 Corps. General Saha, your first reaction to Operation Sindoor, and now what every guest has been saying to us since morning, that the Pakistanis will have to respond. They can't be seen as not responding. How does India then calibrate its response to a Pakistani response?
Thank you. Firstly, I think the operation has been named so aptly. The way the terrorists singled out the men and killed them in front of the women, and the significance of the Sindoor in India is so well understood. I think, as the ADGPI tweet puts it, the justice has been served. I think the operation in itself is named so well. And rightfully, as you asked, we have to be prepared for, retaliation. Even Shahbaz Sharif, in his tweet, has put it over there that they will retaliate. So I think we must be prepared across the spectrum, from a very base level of terrorist activity, and not necessarily restricted only to Kashmir, but across the country, because there are sleeper cells who are active all over the country, who will get activated all over the country, and of course, particularly in J&K. Apart from that, we are already seeing some excessive heating up of the line of control. As I speak to my friends over there, the firing has already been intensified, so expect it to be highly intense, because that already has started. And the next level, as we can see, and we should be prepared, is engaging of more military targets by the Pakistan armed forces in the next 24 to 48 hours, unless some good sense prevails in Pakistan, because India, as far as we are concerned, have hit at the lowest rung of the escalatory ladder. Because if Pakistan chooses to climb up the escalatory ladder, they do not know what the hell is going to hit them. Because we have not touched their military installations, we have not touched their economic targets, so the scope of targets is actually endless. So it is better that Pakistan be forewarned Pakistan be better advised by their sane friends not to go down that path. If they choose to go down that path, that country which is so fragile is going to pay a much heavier price than what it can possibly imagine. So I will leave it.
Jay, you've spoken about multiple aspects there, but in terms of climbing up the escalation ladder, Tilak Devasharji had a point. Ashok Malik is also with us. Good morning, Jai Hind. Major Manik Jolly also with us, defense expert. Jai Hind to you too. Thank you for joining us. This is continuous coverage. This is something which is historic, unprecedented. Bharat's military posture perhaps will be evaluated and reviewed by many across the world, given the kind of strikes that we have done and the precision with which we have executed this. But you heard General Saha, Major Manik Jolly. Do you agree, disagree with the fact that there could be a certain level of escalation by the Pakistanis, and there may be some elements, they may activate some of their proxies on our soil? Should Bharat immediately respond with perhaps a far more punitive calibration if there is anything that happens here, any event that happens here? Should we then move to a certain level of escalation?
Hi. I actually totally agree with what he was saying. There will be some action from Pakistan side. The action, it is just not about saving face in the local population, but also a military would like to, and since they are so bifurcated in that country, the decisions don't come as a calibrated and a cohesive decision between the military and the politician, government. The military, Asim Munir especially, would like to take this on and go ahead with some action. So India, but I would, if you ask just my personal opinion, this is the time we hold on for a moment. I think rather than taking it as we are building up on what we did last night, we should hold on and see what they are trying to do and then maybe respond in a more stronger way. Because now we are anticipating, this is all speculation that we are talking, that they'll do this or that. So let's just see what they do. Because there's a slight chance they might not react. Let's say even if it is 1%. That gives a tendency to, or even a possibility of this actually calming down the whole scenario for both the nations, and that is something that the governments might be looking at. So this is the time we should actually wait rather than thinking on escalating it even more. We have given our message. Sindoor has been a fantastic success.
I think the statement that was put out by the army also makes it very clear that this is not escalatory in nature. We've not crossed the line of control. I've got Ashok Malik also joining us. So the nature of the conversations, the diplomatic fallout, Ashok, of this, conversations between the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, MA officials have spoken to their counterparts in Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc. What is happening right now, you reckon, in South Block, and how does India manage the diplomatic fallout of Operation Sindoor?
I think the diplomatic fallout is fairly along expected lines and fairly measured. Apart from a few countries which remain Pakistan's steadfast allies, I've seen the Turkish foreign minister's response. Apart from those countries and perhaps Beijing, the fact is most countries don't have patience for Pakistan's terror infrastructure and expected some Indian response. They don't want a full-fledged war. Nobody does. Nobody in India does either. But they do expect some sort of a response, and I think I believe this response will have a lot of support because it has been a measured response, a targeted response. The Prime Minister and the military have collectively chosen very specific targets, attacking LET camps or the headquarters in Mudrike and the Jaish-e-Mohammed facility. But these are not nursery schools.
All right, I think we've just lost him for a bit there, but he's back. Yeah.
Back. So these are nurseries of terror, and people would expect that they would be targeted. These are legitimate targets. The bigger message India has sent, to my mind, is that after Uri in 2016, we moved into POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. Balakot was in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This time we have gone into Punjab, Pakistani Punjab. Asim Munir, said a few days ago that Kashmir is Pakistan's jugular vein or the Pakistani army's jugular vein. Quite honestly, the Pakistani army's jugular vein is Punjab heartland. And we have, the Indian army has, the Indian military has, the Indian government has, and India as a country has shown that Pakistan's Punjab is itself vulnerable. We can strike there. There is a long-term implication to that message, which Pakistan will have to absorb and ponder.
Ashok, one more question before we let you go. Who are the countries right now in the world who have the leverage with Pakistan, and particularly with the Pakistani Defense Forces, Asim Munir, because ultimately whatever action they choose to take or not choose to take will be Asim Munir's decision. The civilian government, I guess, will sign off on it. Who are the countries right now who have the leverage with him to force him not to climb the escalation ladder?
Well, I suppose the only countries that really matter for him are the two big powers, China, which is his in a sense Pakistan's patron, and the US. But the degree to which he'll be able to listen to them is something I really doubt, because he has to save face after all his braggadocio over the past few weeks, and I expect he will want to respond in some manner. And I don't believe what we are seeing today is the end of it, to be honest.
And do you reckon that the IMF meeting, which is in a couple of days from now, I think it's $1 billion package of the overall $7 billion package, that will have any pressure to bear on how the Pakistanis choose to respond or not respond?
I still believe even they'll probably respond after the meeting, if they do at all, but they wouldn't want to sort of clear the optics for that meeting. But for domestic face, the Pakistani army would have to respond. Remember, this is not a strike on some far off frontier province. This is a strike in Punjab, Pakistani Punjab. And do remember, the Pakistani army only took the 65 war and India's response seriously when the Indian army went into Pakistani Punjab.
Correct.
So Punjab is their jugular vein, Punjab is their heartland. They will take this more seriously than frankly they took 2019 or 2016.
All right, Ashok Malik, thank you so much for joining us and putting your thoughts into perspective for our viewers. I also want to go across to another piece of breaking news. I think Amit Shah is just leaving his residence. We're not sure where he's headed to. He could likely be headed to 7 LKM, the Prime Minister's residence. He's also put out a tweet saying that the government has expressed its resolve that a befitting reply would be given to the perpetrators of Pahalgam, and that has now been achieved. Bharat firmly committed to eradicating terrorism. Operation Sindoor is a manifestation of that resolve. Let me go across to Payal Mehta, who has more details on this. Just walk us through what else the Home Minister has said in his tweet.
Well, of course, the Home Minister, as much as every citizen of the country, will be breathing a huge sigh of relief. Zaka, multiple questions were asked, what will India do? When will India take revenge? In fact, just a couple of days ago, when he was speaking at a function in the national capital, the first time since the attack, he came out and said, don't worry, India will seek its revenge as well. So obviously, it's a big occasion, for everybody. Everybody's rejoicing at this right now, with the fact that Indian armed forces have been taking revenge, and the Home Minister putting out a tweet over there, acknowledging the contribution of the armed forces and of course the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And since you mentioned that he's left from his house, in all probability he'll be heading to the location where I'm standing at. He'll be coming to the 7 Lokalyan Marg residence of the Prime Minister, given the fact that the cabinet is at 10 or something is what we're given to understand. But before that, CCS will take place, and CCS is where Amit Shah is also a member. So technically speaking, the Prime Minister will officially be briefed by various personnel in the CCS about what the activities really are. Multiple people have been briefing him. Ajit Doval has been the key person who's been briefing him throughout. We of course do understand Dr. Jaishankar could also be working the phone lines. Ajit Doval himself has spoken to the US as well, and Mr. Jaishankar, I'm sure, has also spoken to multiple states. So
do remember, Home Minister was the first person to go to Pahalgam.
And Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has left his residence, so I think the CCS meeting is going to get underway. Anshul is getting us this ground report.
On your screens right now is of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh leaving from his residence. Remember, this is the first visuals of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who is leaving from his residence at this point in time after India had carried out attacks inside the territory of Pakistan. And now
I'll go across to our guests and understand, how does targeting the LOC and keeping it hot, General Saha, help the Pakistani cause? Targeting civilian shelters, some of the artillery has actually landed. It has actually landed right next to the UN field station in Poonch also. So this is not going to help the Pakistani cause. We got more news coming through. Attacking terror hubs is a strong message. Top intelligence sources are telling CNN News 18. that high-profile strikes like this will force terrorists to operate in survival and hiding mode and reduce their ability to plan large-scale attacks on Bharatiya soil. This is a serious dent for new recruitments. Pakistan-based camps will no longer be seen as safe. New recruits may hesitate to join, so this could be a long-term deterrent. Bharat strikes safe.
Well, that's right, Anand. In fact, top intelligence sources are telling this to Manoj Gupta that these terror groups rely on Hawala networks, NGOs and front companies to. In fact, India's strikes pressure Pakistan's ISI to control terror proxies or risk further escalation. In fact, after Balakot, Pakistan temporarily detained Jaish-e-Mohammed leaders to placate global scrutiny. Any attack on camps is nothing but an guerrilla tactics which are harder to execute and less impactful than coordinated strike. Perhaps India has given evidence of the 9 terror camps which have been targeted, and this is a proof perhaps which India will put forth at the international organizations to expose Pakistan.
Right now, so we've got a calibration ready at various levels to answer why certain actions have been taken. We'll get into the depth of why these 9 targets and where they are actually located and what strategic importance it is for Bharat, from Bharat's interest, to target these 9 locations in Pakistan. But before that, Zaka Jacob with us, Tilak Devashar, and also Major Manik Jolly with us, and Sushant Sareen with us. China's reaction, Zaka, that Shailendra Wangu has just put this out, that China has opposed all forms of terrorism. China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson is what has now been put out of the PRC, FMPRC. The statement very clearly says ongoing situation between India and Pakistan. China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. We are concerned about the ongoing situation. India and Pakistan are and will always be each other's neighbors. They are both China's neighbors as well. China opposes all forms of terrorism. We urge both sides to act in the larger interest of peace and stability, remain calm, exercise restraint and refrain from taking actions that may further complicate the situation.
So, look, I think there are 2 parts to that statement. First, I think it is important that China has put out this statement because it is, as Ashok Malik was saying a moment ago, there's probably only 2 countries in the world right now which have some degree of leverage or influence in Islamabad. One is the United States, the other happens to be China. Yes, there will be consternation at the fact that China has used the word regrettable, that India's actions are regrettable. But look, those are mere words. It doesn't really matter. The question that we need to ask ourselves is China now going to sort of bring some pressure to bear, some influence to bear on Islamabad and specifically on General Asim Munir not to retaliate and, more importantly, not to climb the escalation ladder. We have to be very, very calibrated and clear here. India, if it goes into a full frontal war with Pakistan, has much more to lose than Pakistan. The size of our economy is 10 times that of Pakistan. India wanted to convey a calibrated but very definitive signal to Pakistan. It has done so with Operation Sindoor. I think this is what they've achieved today. Simultaneous strikes at 9 places is really uncharted territory as far as India's counterterrorism and counter-insurgency operations are concerned. It has been a joint operation by the Army, Navy and the Air Force. These loitering munitions have been used, but at the same time India has been very, very clear not to come across as escalatory. The statement said these are non-escalatory in nature, the LOC has not been crossed, and most importantly, no military targets have been hit. This was not mentioned after Balakot. This was not mentioned after Uri. So there's a reason why those sentences have been put in there. I think the signal to General Headquarters Rawalpindi is do not escalate, do not climb the escalation ladder. And Tilak Devashar is here as well. A, what do you make of the China statement? And B, is this all now going to sort of play on Asim Munir's calculus as to what next step he can possibly take, whether he has elbow room and the option to climb the escalation ladder?
See, before coming to that, I wanted to complete. These are interesting dynamics that are going to play out in the next 24 to 36 hours. Coming to China's position, if you compare this with what Turkey had said, I think China's position, China's statement has been far more refined. Turkey came out so comprehensively in favor of Pakistan. I think Pakistan is going to be a bit disappointed, except for the use of word regrettable. Pakistan is going to be disappointed with China, I say. They were looking for far greater support, and China coming out far more openly for Pakistan than what it has actually done.
Yes, fair. You make a fair point there, because somewhere when you read after the first line is a little targeted towards India when it uses the word regrettable, like you said, Tilakji. But after that, it is actually telling Pakistan to back off. It is somewhere telling Pakistan, don't climb up the escalator ladder, don't respond right now. That needs to happen. Response was happened. What has happened is regrettable, but it's happened. It is going to happen. Accept it and then stay put. Now we got more news coming through. Exclusive input from government sources. Amitabh Sinha is on the phone with us on what's happened early this morning. Even ahead of the attack on the terrorist camps in Pakistan, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh met the three chiefs. NSA Ajit Doval had also visited the Raksha Mantri at his home to meet him. The meeting lasted for about an hour. Amitabh Sinha with us. Amitabh, पर तो क्या ये मीटिंग जो हुई थी ये प्रधानमंत्री और एनएसए की मीटिंग के बाद हुई थी कल देर शाम?
नहीं, उसके पहले ये पूरा उसका रनअप है आनंद। उसके बारे में बता दूं, लगातार सेना प्रमुख हर दिन रक्षा मंत्री को ब्रीफ कर रहे थे और रक्षा मंत्री प्रधानमंत्री से बात कर रहे थे। प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद तमाम रक्षा प्रमुखों से बात की थी और मुलाकात भी की थी, आपको याद होगा, डिफेंस सेक्रेटरी से भी। लेकिन कल रात के घटनाक्रम में जो सबसे पहला हुआ, ये अजीत डोवाल का रक्षा मंत्री से मिलना, रणनीति पे चर्चा, सेना कितनी तैयार है, तीनों अंग कितने तैयार हैं। सबसे खास बात जो आनंद ये इस बैठक की, कल रात में जब ऑपरेशन पूरा हो गया, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, उसके बाद राजनाथ सिंह रक्षा मंत्री ने तीनों सेनाध्यक्षों से फोन पर लंबी बात की कि अगर पाकिस्तान जो कभी मानता नहीं है और कभी सुधरने की कोशिश भी नहीं करता है, अगर वो कुछ पलटकर कुछ कार्रवाई करने की कोशिश करता है, तो भारत की सेना कितनी तैयार है सीमाओं पर और वायु सेना कितनी तैयार है, इसके ऊपर पूरी तरह से उन्होंने रणनीति पर चर्चा की है। और वो अभी घर से निकले, 11 बजे कैबिनेट है, मुझे लगता है सीसीएस भी होगी जिसमें ब्रीफ किया जाएगा। तो मुझे लगता है ये राजनाथ सिंह लगातार हर रणनीति में शामिल थे, ये बात यही दर्शा रही है।
जी धन्यवाद। तो यानी रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह was also kept abreast. He was involved soon after the operation. He's spoken with the three service chiefs for nearly an hour to look at what will be our response or our defense mechanism, our posture and readiness if there is a reprisal or counter that comes in from the Pakistanis. So everybody has been involved. The intelligence has been right in the thick of it with the NSA Ajit Doval spearheading all of this. Sushant Sareen, clearly whole of government far more calibrated. JP Nadda, the BJP president, has also now tweeted. He's saying this is Bharat's message on Pahalgam. If you tease us, we won't let you go. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said those who attack the soul of India will be given severe punishment. India is both capable and determined to uproot terrorism from its roots. We will eradicate the scourge of terrorism. # Operation Sindoor. So everybody has spoken. Everybody has reacted. The Prime Minister perhaps still waiting. There is no comment on his Twitter handle. There's no word from him. Will there be a video message from the PM soon after the press briefing? We'll have to wait and watch. But Sushant Sareen, calibrated whole of government approach, largely driven by the NSA at the helm. He seems to have been spearheading while collaborating and keeping everybody in the loop, a select group of people.
Anand, all of that is okay, but from what your reporter just told us, I am wondering that if after having launched the attack on Pakistan, the Raksha Mantri is calling the defense chiefs to find out what we will do if Pakistan retaliates, then I have some serious questions about defense planning in this country. I mean, this was a pretty no-brainer that something is going to come from their side. So I think there's a gap in what your reporter is reporting. It can't be like that. Because I think the armed forces would have been primed up and would already be primed up about this fact that there will be something coming from the Pakistani side. See, and the rest of it is a lot of rhetoric, right? I think that rhetoric part is, for now, needs to be laid to rest, because now we've entered another zone altogether. We are out of that rhetoric zone of what happens, that when each side is threatening the other side to janta nahi hai main kaun hu. I think we've transcended that, and we've entered into a completely different zone where action reaction cycle is now going to be underway, and I think that is what we need to focus on. What do the Pakistanis target? Do they target places in Kashmir, or do they target cities in rest of India? what are the cities they target in, what are the targets they pick. And if those are gravely provocative, then what is our response going to be? Is it going to be proportionate? Is it going to be more than proportionate? Is it going to be seriously punitive? So I think we are now in that zone, and that is what we should be talking about. Baki, all these statements will continue to be made. There'll be those typical third-rate fellows who will make, carping sounds and raise all kinds of issues and doubts. And there will be those guys who will keep doing chest thumping. And I would imagine that the better thing to do would be to move away from that rhetoric and focus on the substantive part.
Right. Pallavi Ghosh is also with us. Pallavi, what are we expecting? The press briefing has been delayed till 10:30.
Well, yes, that's right. It's now been postponed by half hour, but you can see the arrangements are completely in place. And there's going to be a PPT presentation also right over here. So what we are being told is it is just going to stick facts. There is not going to be any interactive session. That's certainly not been planned as of now. Representatives from the Air Force, the Armed Forces, as well as the MEA, all of them are going to be there over here, and all the details of Operation Sindoor will be given out. But of course, the security concerns will always be factored in. Apart from that, the PPT presentation which is going to be put up is going to give up the details of the operations, the impact of the operations. But the cardinal rule which is being followed over here is to ensure that it's a complete fact check. There are going to be a lot of lies which are now being peddled by the Pakistani government and Pakistan influencers. All of that is being fact checked. What repeatedly we're being told by the government is that we can understand the frustration of the Pakistanis and the Pakistani government, but we really need to stick to facts, and the facts are something which are going to be given out in a short while from now. And very quickly, preparations for this big operations have going on. We've been seeing how there has been a gherawing of Pakistan diplomatically, economically, the government making it very clear that they have the wherewithal, they have the finances, there's nothing to worry about. So it's been seen as a win-win situation. Yesterday, for example, the FTA, which was signed with UK, was a larger messaging to the world that India's stature globally is also something which is being recognized. And I think the kind of words which are coming in from the global leaders and the players, and of course back home over here, minor 1 or 2, all of this endorses the fact that it was not a one which was unprovoked. It was something which was waiting to happen. It was a cry for justice. But more than that, if you look at the brief statement which was issued immediately after Operation Sindoor, it very categorically mentioned that we followed the rules. It was not unprovoked. It was not off the cuff. It was also something which followed the rules, and we have conducted it in a very coordinated, systematic manner.
Right. So Omar Abdullah, the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, is having a cabinet meeting. So there could be an emergency conversation there. Those are the pictures that are just coming in from Srinagar, where the Jammu and Kashmir cabinet is having a conversation. There are people who have joined also joined online. So this is the Chief Minister having a conversation. Earlier, the LG had a conversation with the entire group of DCs in the districts along the LOC, the regions along the LOC, to move civilians to safety, to evacuate certain residences right on the line of control, because there's some heavy pounding that's happening, artillery firing that's coming in from the Pakistanis, some of those shells landing right next to the UN field station. Now, how and why is this going to help? Manik Jolly, quick word. This kind of firing along the LOC to try and keep it hot, how does it help the Pakistanis, or how does it help any cause, even in terms of retaliation or retribution?
So it's exactly used the right word, retribution and retaliation. This is what they're trying to prove, that you come inside, you strike inside, we will get back to you. And they know that if they start taking on the military, the retaliation from our side would be much stronger. So they go ahead and bombard the villages, the civilians, just to create the chaos. This has been a tactics earlier to, support the infiltration also. It could be a quite possibility that one of the plans that they are making, once you start the artillery, the infiltration starts. They want to maybe a quick reaction from their side would be, let's do a terrorist attack. Right. Let's send in more terrorists. So this could be a mix of everything and anything.
Right. Let's just, with Sushant Sareen and Manik Jolly, let's try and look at some of the 9 targets, and let's try and break this down for our viewers if we can. And Manik Jolly, help me out here as we will, you turn turn around and we just talk about this. So, which are the targets? Let's try and understand, viewers, which are the targets and understand the layout, the geographical layout of each of these targets and why it is a critical installation that's been now brought down. So, let's start with the biggest one, that is the Jaish's target in Bahawalpur. Can we go full frame to this? Can we zoom in on this, please? Yeah. So, there you go. So, this is the Markaz, Subhanallah. So, I'm going to, one second. There you go. Let's get this right. Okay, so this is Markaz, Subhanallah. This is the first one. This is Bahawalpur in Punjab. Now, this is the Jaish's headquarter. This entire acreage, this entire region, this has now spread. The Jaish has actually grown bigger and bigger from about 2 acres to about 14 to 15 acres of occupancy, this one that they have here. Let's try and see the lay of this place. They have now got behind this swimming pool, they have got a gym, they've got a training center. This is what has been targeted. The Jaish's hub, which can host at least 600 people. Yeah. How critical, important, and what kind of messaging is it that this structure now, this entire place now stands destroyed?
Let's say this is the corporate headquarters of terrorism. Once you take that out, the biggest message that goes is we are not just hunting you in jungles, we can get you anywhere. That's the biggest message that goes. So yes, you can build a building again, but it's the messaging that counts, that you are nowhere safe. We will get you wherever you are.
So this is the Jaish HQ. So this one, now this has been completely destroyed. So this is destroyed. So this is one, and this is deep in Punjab. So about 90 kilometers from the Indian border. So 90 kilometers from IB. So this is one of the biggest ones that's been destroyed.
So it is critical to understand that when we are talking of this airstrike, maybe we didn't have to actually go beyond the IB. The missiles that Rafale has, especially the Scalp, right, it has fantastic range for this, low flying. It has a very small cross section. It is beyond, it can jump through it's one of those which has inertial navigation.
Correct.
Even if the jammers, they jam their GPS navigation, it can do it on its own, jump through the systems of air defense. And in the terminal phase is when you are about to hit. It picks on the target. It has a special capability, like when it is sent, a picture is given to the missile. This is how it looks, like this one you are seeing here.
Right.
And then it goes directly to it. You can't waver.
You can't waver. Yeah. So that means the picture is identified, and that's why when they use the term loitering munition, there is a dynamic to it and there is an importance to it. Let's look at the next target that was now look at. So this is Markaz-e-Taiba. So if you look at Markaz-Taiba, Markaz-e-Taiba is the headquarters of the Lashkar. Yeah. So Markaz-Taiba is once again somewhere in the city in Muridke. This is the one that's been targeted. The significance of targeting the LET headquarters. This is not as big as the Jaish, but this is the second terror hydra.
But we have a lot of hisab kitab with LET. So it is great that we took them out.
What is the, so this is the LET headquarters. This is Markaz-Taiba. This is LET headquarters. This is also in Pak, Punjab. Yeah. So and Muridke is just about 30 kilometers from Lahore.
More or less, yeah,
so if we have targeted this place which is 30 kilometers from Lahore, that means we can strike at will.
Not only that, we are striking in Punjab.
Deep into Pak.
In Punjab. That is their nerve center, right? They get very touchy if you are touching Punjab. In previous wars we've seen, a speaker was mentioning that earlier also, that if you can get into, now we are not limited to artillery shelling or a normal strike on a post on LC. We are going to deep into territory. This is, let's say, hometown.
It's over, fat kid says, are we sure this isn't a scam?
Very seriously.
We're never sure.
All these terrorist centers are
not with these guys.
Because this is terrorism royalty and ISI royalty living.
It's just a big scam to get American tax
ISI
dollars.
Military installations also not so far away from
those
this
stupid
place.
Americans will send us money.
The next
we pretend to fight.
That has been brought down. This is the Sejal Tehra Kala. Now, Sarjal, we are given to understand, is a Jaish hub. It looks like a small medical center, but this is a huge training camp. They say at least 600 to 700 people are being trained at a given point in time. 600 cadre here. Now, so this is again a big training center, and the location of this place, Sarjal, not very far from the this one. not very far from the LOC. This area such as
a great thing that gets resolved for everybody in this country asking questions about intelligence and this and that. It is not that we have found all these guys in 5 days or 2 weeks.
Correct.
We have been collating data, we have been gathering information, and it is their technique to hide, it is their tactics to hide in civilian areas.
So, Fat Kid, why are they fighting? India is claiming that they're responding to a Pakistani terrorist attack.
Interestingly, it is called a health center or a government hospital. It is supposed to be. Okay, and government hospital on paper, but it is actually a terror camp. So, isse zyada what this is a very Hamas style thing that they are doing.
Exactly.
Very, very Hamas style, no? Their operation.
Pretty much, FT. Pretty much.
And although, since, the Gaza and everything is a very small patch of land compared to what Pakistan is, let's say. But the tactics remain the same. Let's hide within the population. It makes transport very easy, coming and going out. It makes surveillance very complicated. It gives you a sense of security. Nobody's going to attack us. We are surrounded by civilians, all that. But what India did is, fine, in this entire maze, you are sitting here, we'll send you the best of the ammunition that will hit you in that small house, and we'll take you down there only.
Take you down their road. So now let's move to the next one. Now this is again very, very critical. The next one is Mahmoona Joya. Now Mahmoona Joya brings in another jihadi tanzim. Now Mahmoona Joya, this region, Mahmoona Joya is actually HM. That is Hizbul. So this is the Hizbul camp. So, and this is Salahuddin.
So you see, this is a little different from that built-up area.
Again 200 to 300 cadre is what we are saying.
The difference between two would be, at one place the indoctrination happens, training happens. You are training their minds, you're making them radical. These are the players where physical training.
Apparently, we're getting an update
making them run fire, train on explosives, all that. That is the difference between these two. The previous ones, which we saw in the civilian, surrounded by civilians, and this one. So this is definitely a training camp where the physical training happens. There the indoctrination and management happens.
And आप देखें इसके आसपास it is quite open. It is in an area which is ghati area in the sense valley area, lot of khet, khalian and all of that, right in the middle of that. So there could be terrain training that is happening, how to survive, lay of the land, physical training that physical.
You see the access routes going there. You see one major road. So these are very perfectly selected places. Once the crops come up, nobody can charge you from the crop, right? So there's only one access in, one access out. So they do take care of all these things. You find these road charts very interesting when you look at all these things.
Let's just pause here. So we've looked at 3 terror hideouts right now. 4 camps we've seen. 2 belonging to the Jaish, 1 belonging to the headquarters of the Lashkar, 1 of the Hizbul Mujahideen. We will move to the Markaz Ahle Hadith. But before that, we've just got news coming through. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Alit Chauhan, has now briefed. We are given to understand the Raksha Mantri. So we'll try and understand the news. Payal is joining us with the detail. Brief Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at South Block. So let's try and go across to Payal. We'll go back to the remaining terror camps and the bases in a bit. Yes, Payal.
Multiple briefings are taking place. Anand, just a short while ago, we reported how Ajit Doval, the NSA was constantly briefing Prime Minister Narendra Modi of the developments, and of course Rajnath Singh, who left from his residence a short while ago, has been briefed by the Army Chief and the Chief of Defence Staff, is what we are given to understand. And shortly, all of them will come to the local and mark residence of the Prime Minister, given the fact that the Prime Minister has called for a cabinet meeting. Before that, the CCS will also take place. It will be interesting to see if the service chiefs also join the meeting of the CCS, because they are, of course, special invitees on special occasions as well. So that's the information that is coming in. So multiple rounds of meeting taking place, multiple briefings taking place, because obviously technically a proper briefing of the Prime Minister will have to take place at some stage or the other, and of course those visuals are awaited as the Prime Minister's office gives it out to us. But it's 10 minutes past 10, and you have another 40 minutes to go before all these meetings begin at the residence of the Prime Minister, where I am really at.
Right. Is it confirmed that Vikram Misri ji will also be there in the briefing?
Well, my sources in the Ministry of External Affairs and credible sources have indicated that not just Vikram Misri, but other senior officials, of course, to do with Pakistan-Afghanistan region will also be there in the briefing. Vikram Misri will in fact be holding the briefing, is what my sources have confirmed, Anand. That's the development that is coming in. So India in fact making their own military officers do the briefing. Along with that, India understands that there's a lot of implications. India's geopolitical position is also entirely different right now when the world looks towards India to see what India is going to do, how India is going to strike back at Pakistan. Right. And the responses are there for everybody to
Welcome
really
to the
see.
chat,
and support has continued to pour in as far as India's wish to avenge the revenge is concerned. So a briefing by Vikram Misri will be extremely critical to tell us what the geopolitical scenario post the attacks really looks like.
So you are at 7 LKM right outside the Prime Minister's residence come office where the CCS is likely to happen. Let's go across to Arunima, who's joining us from the National Media Center where we are expecting the briefing. Arunima, they should be getting ready in about 16 minutes. The briefing should get underway. How many chairs are there, and have they put
already
out the nameplates, who's sitting where and who are all
or
going
did
to
you
be
already
there?
have this fatigue?
The nameplates are still not up, they are still face down, but the ME officials who are present there have given us enough indication that the Foreign Secretary is going to be present at the briefing. There will be a representation from the Indian Air Force. You could see a woman officer also briefing. Of course, the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have collaborated to carry out this precise action against Pakistan-based terror camps. So both of them will be there to brief. And I can tell you that officials from the Union Home Ministry, from the Ministry of Defence, and from the Ministry of External Affairs, all three wings of our security in North Block and South Block are represented in that conference hall. And there is a full-fledged spread out of the international media as well. It is not clear yet whether questions will be allowed. Indications initially was that it will just be a readout, a statement, and a PowerPoint presentation. However, we'll have to see if a couple of questions are taken. That I think is the reason why the press conference was also delayed by about half an hour, because final calls are still being taken as to whether this should just be a statement.
Well, thank you for your input, Arunima. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Let's quickly, even as we're counting down 15 minutes to go for the briefing to get underway, let's try and understand some of the other targets that have been taken out. So far, we've covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets that were taken out. 2 of them hubs of LET, 2 of the Jaish, 1 of the Hizbul Mujahideen. This is Markaz Hadith. Now, this is again another region as we are coming up further. We are coming up from down south in Punjab towards the LOC, and we are coming into these regions where the Markaz Hadith again LET hub. So it's an LET hub. Can you talk and if you look at the lay, this is again seems to be another 300 to 500 cadre, terror cadre who are usually in this area, this place. What's the significance of this? This is again
they just need to play a cricket match and shut the fuck up. Yeah, let's settle this with cricket.
This is again typically a training camp, which would be, let's say, managed by a couple of senior leaders.
Right.
This is the proximity to LOC suggests that this becomes a pre-stage to the launching pads. Launching pads are that extreme.
No more action.
Just stay for a couple of
days. Getting an update
for infiltration
from India.
So this would be their place where
minutes.
people will be getting their weapons, ammunition.
Allegedly, they've already pushed it back 30 minutes.
All that. So all these different centers which have been taking out, let's say India is targeting the chain of command in terms of operations of terrorists.
Right.
It is not just about corporate headquarters, it's about their training camps, it's about their launching pads.
Personally, if I was Pakistan, I wouldn't let this slide.
Again, training camps coming too. We'll also look at one of the other. Now let's move to this place. This is Kotli. So there were 2 targets in Kotli. Kotli had 2 targets. One was Markaz Abbas in Kotli. The other one, now Kotli is further. Now we are getting into the POK region, isn't it? Closer into the POK region, and from here the LOC is not so far away, not more than 5.
You already reached the terrain which is.
Jay, will this mean less scam calls from both sides?
Yeah. You
see, probably will be more scam calls
This is
from
one
both
of the
sides.
ghatis, hill. So piche wahan pe hill hoga, and on the other side is Bharat, right? So this is the occupied territory of the Pakistanis. This is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This is Kotli. This village is actually seen from the last village on the LOC on the Bharat side.
Rebel. The summary is that the Poo people are big bad at each other.
Move ahead into India for infiltration. So all these are successive spaces.
Seattle Antenna Antifa is back.
Different kind of activities happen.
Right.
Two people
I'm just going to
big
stay
mad.
quickly and quickly look at the other part. This
Trump
is Markaz
says
Rahil
they have. He has a
Rahil
major
Shaheen,
announcement coming this
interestingly,
week.
is not so far away, and this is again a Jayesh,
Not trade related.
This is a pure launchpad kind
Could
of
be
a situation.
anything
This is a
other than
launch
trade.
pad. So if you look at the terrain itself, so it showcases that this area looks like this looks like a launch pad by default.
Yeah.
This Rahil Shaheen.
You see that track going down into the Nala.
Yeah.
That track going on. So so you can't climb cliffs. You have to follow paths. So these places become a default launching pads or launching stations. So it's very good that we are taking them out also, because
they're fighting over
scholars
Kashmir.
Stay here. They get trained here. They understand terrain. They look at our deployment. It's good that we are destroying them also.
Right. Now
Exactly, Jay. Battle tanks with goofy names aren't free. They got to raise those funds somehow.
Quickly,
that's by scamming
coming through,
elderly Americans.
The Muzaffarabad is very interesting. Right,
quickest way to raise some cash.
3 kilometers of each other. One Jaish camp and one
Hong Granny.
camp.
Good to see you.
We'll show which have been targeted. Muzaffarabad is the
Hong
capital.
Rebel, are we getting another summer of honging? Maybe.
Let's try and
Maybe.
look at news coming through. Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to DGBSF.
There are a lot of powder
of
kegs
Jammu
out
and
there
Kashmir,
right now.
Chief Minister
So maybe.
of Jammu and Kashmir, and has given instructions to take people to safe places in the border areas. The Home Minister has also instructed them to keep strong vigil on the border areas. Arunima now joining us with more details. Arunima, clearly the LG has already had a chat with the DCs. The Chief Minister has had a cabinet meeting and they are prepared for all emergencies. Srinagar Airport, Jammu Airport have been shut, but the Home Minister also on top of things with respect to safety of people and also to try and prevent any incident that could have been planned by Pakistan or its proxies on our soil.
See, especially in the Rajouri.
That's true, Watchman. I forgot about that.
The ceasefire violation that is happening, the constant shelling that is happening.
Today
from
is the
Pakistan
day
side,
that real
these are
ID,
leading to
digital
loss of
ID
life.
is required to fly.
Civilian casualties there are mounting, and
could be quite a mess with all of that.
Instructions have been given out by the Home Minister
that
all houses or all villages which are in line of fire should be evacuated, and the civilian population must be moved to the nearest bunkers. There are community bunkers there. Already there was a mock drill that was planned for today. So the civil defense volunteers and the civilians there are also almost ready. The livestock of these villagers are also to be moved out. That's an instruction that has been given by the Home Minister. He's in constant touch with Director General of the Border Security Force, Daljit Chaudhary, because not only is the Rajouri Poonch sector hot, but eyes are also to be kept on Jammu, Punjab, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Since morning we have been checking and there's been nothing untoward along the international border. Jammu all the way up to Rajasthan. So far nothing untoward has been reported, but Home Minister is in direct communication with DGBSF, taking constant update to see whether this area is also peaceful or not. Home Secretary meanwhile has just arrived at North Block and he's been also instructed to regularly monitor the situation as it's unfolds. Tonight will be critical as far as the civilian population along the line of control are concerned.
Right, and shortly more news coming through. Thanks, Arunima. Shortly, MEA and Forces joint briefing is going to happen. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh will be addressing the media. This is very, very big that you will have two women officers who will be addressing the briefing and addressing the media, conducting the briefing on Operation Sindoor. And we have the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. So a whole of government approach, not just the military or the armed forces aspect, the female officers or women officers, women personnel there to conduct the briefing. We also have the diplomatic.
Just call it Operation Chicken Tikka Masala.
Sitting there and also
Operation Sindoor is such a funny
Vikram
name.
Misri to be there. We'll go across to Akash. Akash joining us with more details. Yes, Akash.
So Anand, we have seen the code
88 IQs with nukes. What could go wrong? Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh. Are we actually starting?
I think there was just some basic instruction asking everybody to settle down at the NMC, the National Media Center. We cut to it. These are pictures coming in via the news feed. But yes, Akash, go ahead, please. Akash, so perhaps two female officers, women officers, who are now going to be doing the briefing.
Operation 7-11.
Also, Anand, very important update is that we are learning that this time around forces are going to provide and in fact present important evidence of the sort of destruction that has happened on the other side, the sort of target in fact that they had engaged with, and in fact the sort of destruction, because last time around in fact we have seen in the operations that how several parties from within the country were asking for the evidences, but now I'm learning, and Ministry of Defense.
Wow, Mr. Nowhere, so you don't have to imagine the smell, do you?
They will be briefing about the operation that was conducted midnight, but also
you know damn well the smell.
Several sort of evidences of the kind of destruction.
Oh, you didn't go? That's what they told you?
Okay. Have carried out in Pakistan.
Well, thank you, and I'm just going to check. This is more big news. This is really big news that's coming through. Big statement from the Pakistan Defense Minister.
Is this the Indian
the
Steve
Pakistan
Luckner?
Defense Minister has apparently
big breaking
made a major
news.
Claim. He has come out and said, and we'll try and get confirmation on that the Pak army and Pak military will refrain from any further ops if Bharat decides to halt its operations. So we will let it lie here. Okay. We will not escalate
are we
further.
Getting a truce here?
Coming in that the Pak military will refrain.
World War II is over, guys.
If Bharat halts its operations. Akash now joins us with more. Akash, so Khwaja Asif from going around to saying that either we exist or nobody exists just less than 24 hours ago is now saying that the Pak military will refrain if Bharat halts operations. That means clearly international pressure is working.
Yes, definitely. It seems like, there is some sort of pressure that is making the defense minister say this. But then, Anand, we know about, the intentions of Pakistan. We have seen in the past that how, back in 1999, in fact, in 2000, in fact, they dished the sort of promises that they made. And in fact, this time around, while this is sending a larger message that they want India to, halt the operations so that, condition cannot get escalate further. But this time around, if at all we can trust them, this is the big question, Anand.
Well, we got Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma also joining us at this point. Major Manik Jolly with us. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, Jai Hind, good morning. Big move by Bharat, 9 targets. We've seen 7 of them, the last 2 in Muzaffarabad, where a Jaish and a Lashkar training areas not so far away from the Red Fort area of Muzaffarabad have also been now neutralized, totally destroyed. The Bahawalpur Jaish headquarters totally reduced to rubble. And now Pakistan is turning around and saying that we will not take any further action if India promises to halt all military operations. So is this a smoke screen? Can we take the Pakistanis to their word? Or is this the result of huge international pressure on Pakistan to de-escalate?
Well, thank you for inviting me. Firstly, it's a day for all of us to be proud of. The operation was tri-services. It was well coordinated and it was technological in nature, where, in addition to missiles and aircrafts and the artillery guns, there were also loitering ammunition and drones used. So, it is something to be proud of, and, we should look forward to a better synergy being created here. Now, having said that, what would the Pakistanis do hereafter? You see, what happens to the 1,000-year war, which they've been talking of from 1965 when Bhutto spoke in United Nations, or the war by 1,000 cuts? Despite everything, despite all good gestures that we have made in so many years, the Prime Minister Vajpayee's visit and Prime Minister Modi's visit and, Agra and you name it, they have always turned back at the last moment and, hit us where, in the regular time. So to say that you believe in, it is important for us to be prepared. If they back out, well, it is not expected of them, because Pakistan military is, or especially the army, is the custodian of national security, and it's a national security state. They have to prove their worth to their people, and the people themselves are nationalized forward because of what's happening here. I think they would be
Star Wars,
Pakistan army to respond in some manner or the other. Hence, at this juncture, I would not take what Khwaja Asif has said. I would take it what he said with a pinch of salt.
But
more than
we
that,
can always get a sequel. Star Wars Episode
maybe tonight,
2.
maybe tomorrow night, and work to that end.
But the briefing is about to start in about 5-10 minutes now. 10:35 a.m. is what we are given to understand. But this is a big statement coming in from the Pak Defense Minister. Is this the conversation with the American NSA or Marco Rubio's impact? Is it because they have not got huge endorsement from the Chinese? Is it the Pakistanis saying that only Turkey is the only one that has come out and given them some support, but there is no military support for
How
them?
embarrassing for Pakistan.
How should Bharat look at the defense minister's statement? Should we take it at face value, or should we be at the ready to say, ek harkat karoge? Because if they don't want to take military action, why is
Just
the
let
LOC so
it
hot?
slide.
So the LOC is hot. The IB is not hot. Unlike what happened in North Parakram, we have not mobilized. So our formations located in hinterland,
attack of the
in
foes?
Hyderabad or in Sagar or Madhya Pradesh, they have not moved up. There is a clear indication. This is not what happened in Brass Tacks. This is not what happened in Parakram. We have not mobilized our forces which are tailored for offensives across into Pakistan. A clear message has been given out that we do not want escalation of a full-fledged war. So, taking that message forward, and it is conveyed across to the global people saying that Indian armed forces are not mobilized for war. The leaves have not been cancelled. Courses are continuing. So there is the overall ambit of situation. It is clear that we have not escalated to a war, and we have already hit only what we wanted to hit, which are terrorist targets. Now, if the Pakistanis have to respond, there are no terrorist targets in India. They have to hit actually some kind of either the civilian establishments, or hit an airport, or hit a cantonment, or hit a infrastructure.
Right.
Now, once you hit an infrastructure thing, it will escalate beyond control because they will be. Pakistan is so vulnerable to infrastructure
so many
being
USA
hit by us.
eggs in that
And if
basket.
they're trying to hit military installations, then obviously there will be a response to military installation. No, there is no quid pro quo.
Well, I guess,
target
when is that
available to
not
Pakistanis
true?
to hit in India in a manner which we have targeted. However,
but they don't have anything which allows them to go off ramp. They don't have anything to go back and tell their people, or are they going to just go back on their bluster that हमने ये brigade headquarter गिरा दिया, हमने ये 2 विमान गिरा दिए, हमने ये कर दिया, 15 लोकेशन पे मिसाइल भेज दी. All these claims, false flag claims that they're making, will they then use that? Because the defense minister coming out and saying that we are willing to refrain if Bharat halts operations. Bharat has very clearly said that we targeted, this is what, this far and no further as far as we are concerned. This is not escalatory in nature. This is the lowest denomination of hitting that we are doing, and that to only terror camps. We have not targeted any civilian establishment. We have not targeted any military installation.
so good. If we believe in what they are saying, Pakistan Army survives on anti-Indianism and on Jammu and Kashmir over the last 8 decades. Now to say that they would backtrack, there is a possibility because we've been hearing about the problems within Pakistan Army against its chief. Maybe there is some truth into that matter, that he doesn't have the following that he claims to have it, and so there can be manifold reasons. And I would add on to what you said, Mark Rubio's called, or what President Trump made a statement in the morning saying it's a shame. All these things you add together, maybe the caution has been applied on Pakistan because they know it will be, it will be responded back. Any escalation, then now hereafter they would be responsible. Having said that, they are already bragging about having downed 5 aircraft, or all those issues that they are raising. Let's have a clarification on what has been the total effect of what has been carried out yesterday night, and then discuss. I would still feel, that we need to be cautious of what Pakistanis will respond. They responded last year to even Iran, which is their thin country. They responded by using loitering ammunition and missiles against Iran in a day after Iran had hit them. So, to say that you take them at a face value, no, sir, I would avoid taking them on face value.
Jay, I think he's spoken and he said this to foreign media. We're given to understand he said it to Bloomberg. I'm just going to try and play out the
women
audio
officers
on my phone
to brief
and see
on
if we can
Operation
catch it.
For the attacks of Indian Air Force are concerned, on 7 different locations, 2 in independent Kashmir, 1 in Muzaffarabad, Faisalabad, other Koti, and 5 other locations in Pakistan.
The question right now that's hanging here is how far is Pakistan willing to go here?
It all depends upon that. This has been initiated by India. If India is ready to back down, they have taken the initiative. We have just responded. We have been saying all along last fortnight that we will never initiate anything hostile towards India. But if we are attacked, we will respond. If India backs down, we will definitely wrap up these things, But as long we are under attack, under fire, we have to respond. We have to defend ourselves.
So that's what he has said, that if India... So Akash with us, Payal is with us, Arunima is with us. Quickly, just going across to our reporters, Major Manik Jolly, quickly, how would you want to respond to what Khwaja Asif has said? If India backs down, we will wrap up. What is it for them to wrap up? And Bharat has already done what it needs to do. We are not going to do anything else unless Pakistan does anything now.
I think the 2 points...
That's what the armed forces have said.
This guy keeps interrupting
that are
you.
very critical actually, and I almost agree 100% to what Jan Sharma said. Firstly, we are putting action where our words are. If we had moved our strike formations, if we had escalated the deployment on borders, if we had cancelled leave, we had done all those. If we had given all those signals, that means we are ready for war. Then our saying this is just a measured, this is just a limited offensive, won't have made any sense. So we are showing them we are cool and pretty, we are sitting here, we are doing our stuff.
Right.
And secondly, we should not trust them.
Going across live to the pictures where we see Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Vikram Misri ready for the briefing.
What is this? Parliament attack 2001? What in the propaganda is this? Yes, Benedict, they prepared a PowerPoint. Complete with sad music. Oh, there's the zipline, man. You'd think India would do a better movie. G.I. Joe. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, where's the Sarah McLachlan music? This is fucking hilarious. What the fuck was that? Yeah, they even added typewriter sound effects.
नमस्कार इस ब्रीफिंग में शामिल होने के लिए आप सभी का धन्यवाद। जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं 22 अप्रैल 2025 को लश्कर तैयबा से संबंधित पाकिस्तानी और पाकिस्तान प्रशिक्षित आतंकवादियों ने भारत में जम्मू और कश्मीर के पहलगाम में भारतीय पर्यटकों पर बर्बरतापूर्ण हमला किया। 25 भारतीयों और एक नेपाली
Hungary rebel. Israel has come out and said that they're on India's side.
उतार दिया गया। मुंबई के 26 नवंबर 2008 के हमलों के बाद ये भारत में हुई किसी आतंकवादी हमले में मारे गए आम नागरिकों की संख्या की दृष्टि से सबसे गंभीर घटना है। पहलगाम का हमला अत्यधिक बर्बरतापूर्ण था, जिसमें वहां मौजूद लोगों को करीब से और उनके परिवारों के सामने सिर पर गोली मारी गई। हत्या के इस तरीके से परिवार के सदस्यों को जानबूझकर आघात पहुंचाया गया। साथ ही उन्हें यह नसीहत भी दी गई कि वे वापस जाकर इस संदेश को पहुंचा दें। ये हमला स्पष्ट रूप से जम्मू और कश्मीर में बहाल हो रही सामान्य स्थिति को बाधित करने के उद्देश्य से किया गया था। चूंकि पर्यटन फिर से अर्थव्यवस्था का मुख्य आधार बन रहा था, इस हमले का मुख्य उद्देश्य इसे प्रतिकूल रूप से प्रभावित करना था। पिछले वर्ष आप सभी जानते हैं 2.25 करोड़ से अधिक पर्यटक इस हमले का मुख्य उद्देश्य इसलिए संभवतः ये था कि इस संघ राज्य क्षेत्र में विकास और प्रगति को नुकसान पहुंचाकर इसे पिछड़ा बनाए रखा जाए और पाकिस्तान से लगातार होने वाले सीमा पार आतंकवाद के लिए उपजाऊ जमीन बनाने में सहायता की जाए। हमले का यह तरीका जम्मू और कश्मीर और शेष राष्ट्र दोनों में सांप्रदायिक दंगे भड़काने के उद्देश्य से भी प्रेरित था। इसका श्रेय सरकार और भारत के सभी नागरिकों को दिया जाना चाहिए कि इन प्रयासों को विफल कर दिया गया। एक समूह ने खुद को
This is only slightly more unintelligible than when they speak English. So.
ये समूह संयुक्त राष्ट्र द्वारा प्रतिबंधित पाकिस्तानी तैयबा से जुड़ा हुआ है। ये उल्लेखनीय है कि भारत ने मई और नवंबर 2024 में संयुक्त राष्ट्र की 1267 कमेटी की सैंक्शंस मॉनिटरिंग टीम को अर्धवार्षिक रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत की थी, जिसमें टीआरएफ के बारे में गए थे। इससे पाकिस्तान स्थित आतंकवादी समूहों के लिए कवर के रूप में टीआरएफ की भूमिका सामने आई थी। दिसंबर 2023 में भारत ने इस टीम को लश्कर तैयबा और जैश ए मोहम्मद के बारे में सूचित किया था, जो टीआरएफ जैसे छोटे आतंकवादी समूहों के माध्यम से अपनी गतिविधियों को संचालित कर रहे हैं। इस संबंध में 25 अप्रैल को यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल प्रेस वक्तव्य में टीआरएफ के संदर्भ को हटाने के लिए पाकिस्तान के दबाव पर भी ध्यान दिया जाना चाहिए। पहलगाम आतंकवादी हमले की जांच से पाकिस्तान के साथ आतंकवादियों के संपर्क उजागर हुए हैं। रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट द्वारा किए गए दावे और लश्कर तैयबा से ज्ञात सोशल मीडिया हैंडल द्वारा इसको रीपोस्ट किया जाना इसकी पुष्टि करता है। चश्मदीद गवाहों और विभिन्न जांच एजेंसियों को उपलब्ध अन्य सूचनाओं के आधार पर हमलावरों की पहचान भी हुई है। हमारी इंटेलिजेंस ने इस टीम के योजनाकारों और उनके समर्थकों की जानकारी जुटाई है। इस हमले की रूपरेखा भारत में सीमा पार आतंकवाद को अंजाम देने के पाकिस्तान के लंबे ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड से भी जुड़ी हुई है, जिसके लिखित और स्पष्ट दस्तावेज उपलब्ध हैं। पाकिस्तान दुनिया भर में आतंकवादियों के लिए एक शरण स्थल के रूप में पहचान बना चुका है। यहां अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर प्रतिबंधित आतंकवादी सजा पाने से बचे रहते हैं। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान ने इस मुद्दे पर विश्व और फाइनेंशियल एक्शन टास्क फोर्स जैसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंचों को जानबूझकर गुमराह करने के लिए भी जाना जाता है। साजिद मीर का मामला, जिसमें इस आतंकवादी को पाकिस्तान ने मृत घोषित कर दिया था और फिर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दबाव के परिणाम स्वरूप वो जीवित पाया गया, इसका सबसे स्पष्ट उदाहरण है। ये स्वाभाविक है कि पहलगाम में हुए इस हमले से जम्मू और कश्मीर के साथ साथ भारत के अन्य भागों में भी आक्रोश देखा गया। हमलों के बाद भारत सरकार ने स्वाभाविक रूप से पाकिस्तान के साथ
telling me India doesn't have their own words for financial transaction? They have to use English
जिसकी
for
घोषणा
that?
23 अप्रैल को की गई थी। तथापि ये आवश्यक समझा गया कि 22 अप्रैल के हमले के अपराधियों और उनके योजनाकारों को
Jay, Euro is lunch, not borrowed.
जाए। हमलों के एक पखवाड़े के बाद भी पाकिस्तान द्वारा अपने क्षेत्र या अपने नियंत्रण वाले क्षेत्रों में आतंकवादियों की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विरुद्ध कार्रवाई करने के लिए कोई स्पष्ट कदम नहीं उठाया गया है।
Yeah, Jojo, fraud, yeah, fraud, scam.
आरोप लगाने में ही लिप्त रहा है। पाकिस्तान आधारित आतंकवादी मॉड्यूल्स पर हमारी खुफिया निगरानी ने संकेत दिया है कि भारत के विरुद्ध आगे भी हमले हो सकते हैं, अतः इनको रोकना और इनसे निपटना दोनों को बेहद आवश्यक समझा गया। आज सुबह, जैसा कि आपको ज्ञात होगा, भारत ने इस तरह के सीमा पार हमलों का जवाब देने और उन्हें रोकने तथा उनका प्रतिरोध करने के अपने अधिकार का प्रयोग किया है। ये कार्रवाई नपीतुली, नॉन एस्केलेटरी, आनुपातिक और जिम्मेदारीपूर्ण है। ये आतंकवाद की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को समाप्त करने और भारत में भेजे जाने वाले संभावित आतंकवादियों को अक्षम बनाने पर केंद्रित है। आपको यह भी स्मरण होगा कि 25 अप्रैल 2025 को संयुक्त राष्ट्र सुरक्षा परिषद ने पहलगाम आतंकवादी हमले पर एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी किया था, जिसमें आतंकवाद के इस निंदनीय कार्य के अपराधियों, आयोजकों, फाइनेंसरों और प्रायोजकों को जवाबदेह ठहराने और उन्हें न्याय दिया गया था। भारत की आज की इस कार्रवाई को इसी संदर्भ में देखा जाना चाहिए।
Action banana.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining this briefing.
Oh, now he's going to do English.
As you are all aware, on April 22, 2025, Pakistani and Pakistan-trained terrorists belonging to the Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out a savage attack on Indian tourists at Pahalgam.
And of course now
they
it's
murdered
buffering.
26 people, including one national of Nepal, causing the largest number of civilian casualties in a terrorist attack in India since the 26th November 2008. The attack in Pahalgam was marked by extreme barbarity, with the victims mostly killed with headshots from close range and in front of family members who were deliberately traumatized through the manner of the killing, accompanied by the exhortation that they should take back the message. The attack was clearly the normalcy returning to Jammu and Kashmir. In particular, it was designed to impact the mainstay of the economy, tourism, with a record 23 million tourists visiting the valley last year. Harming growth and development in the Union Territory would help keep it backward and create fertile ground for continued cross-border terrorism.
Well, the
from
English
Pakistan.
isn't that much better.
The attack was also driven by an objective of provoking communal discord, both in Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the nation. People of India, that these designs were foiled. A group calling itself the Resistance Front has claimed responsibility for the attack. This group is a front for the UN-proscribed Pakistani terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba. It is notable that India had given inputs about the TRF in the half-yearly report to the monitoring team of the UN's 1267 Sanctions Committee in May and November 2024, bringing out its role as a cover for Pakistan-based terrorist groups. Earlier too, in December 2023, India and Jaish-e-Mohammed operating through small terror groups such as to remove references to TRF in the April 25 UN Security Council press statement is notable in this regard. Investigations into the Pahalgam terror attack have brought out the communication notes of terrorists in and to Pakistan. The claims made by known social media handles of the Lashkar-e-Taiba speak for themselves. Identification of the attackers based on eyewitness accounts as well as other has also progressed. Our intelligence has developed an accurate picture of the planners and backers of this team. The features of this attack also tie in with Pakistan's long track record of perpetrating cross-border terrorism in India, which is well documented and the reputation as a haven for terrorists from around the world, with internationally proscribed terrorists enjoying impunity there. In addition, Pakistan has been known to willfully mislead the world and international forums. The Sajid Mir case, in which this response to international pressure brought back to life, found alive and arrested, is the latest attack in Pahalgam has understandably generated deep anger in Jammu and Kashmir.
Why was it not
and
glitching when he was doing the fucking
Following the attacks,
Indian
the government of India naturally responded.
But of course, as soon as we get the English version,
to our engagement with Pakistan, you're all aware. April. However, it was deemed essential that the perpetrators and planners of the 22nd April attack be brought. Despite a fortnight having passed since the attacks, there has been no demonstrable step from Pakistan to take action against the terrorist infrastructure instead on its territory or on territory under its control. Instead, all it has indulged
yeah, I think this one's better.
All it has indulged in are denials and allegations. Our intelligence monitoring of Pakistan-based terrorist modules indicated that further attacks against India were impending. There was thus a compulsion both to deter and to preempt. Earlier this morning, as you would be aware, India exercised its right to respond and preempt as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible. They focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists likely to be sent across to India. You would also recall that the Security Council on 25th April 2025 had issued a press statement on the Pahalgam terror attack, underlining, and I quote, the need to hold perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of this reprehensible act of terrorism accountable and bring them to justice, unquote. India's latest actions should be seen in this context. Joining me for this briefing on our actions earlier this morning are Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. I will request them to share some details regarding Operation Sindoor with all of you.
सुप्रभात देवियों और सज्जनों, मैं कर्नल सोफिया कुरैशी और मेरे साथ विंग कमांडर व्योमिका सिंह आज आपको 6 से 7 मई 2025 की रात 1:05 से 1:30 बजे के बीच भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों द्वारा अंजाम दिए गए ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बारे में जानकारी देंगे। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पाकिस्तान में पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे, जो पाकिस्तान और पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर POJK दोनों में फैले हैं।
Operation Sindoor was launched by Indian Armed Forces to deliver justice to the victims of Pahalgam terror attack and their families. 9 terrorist camps were targeted and successfully destroyed. Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has systematically built terror infrastructure. It is a complex web of recruitment and indoctrination centers, training areas for initial and refresher courses, and launch pads for handlers. These camps are located both in Pakistan as well as Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir areas. Some of the well-known training camps are located, as you can see on the screen. They are distributed from Savai Nala in the north.
Replay that video from earlier.
Counting to approximately 21, ending at Bhagalpur to the south.
इन लक्ष्यों का चयन विश्वसनीय इंटेलिजेंस सूचनाओं के आधार पर हुआ ताकि आतंक गतिविधियों की रीढ़ तोड़ी जा सके और यह खास ध्यान दिया गया कि निर्दोष नागरिकों और सिविलियन इंस्टॉलेशन को नुकसान न पहुंचे.
The selection of these targets for Operation Sindoor was based on credible intelligence inputs and role of these facilities in perpetrating the terror activities. The locations were so selected to avoid damage to civilian infrastructures and loss of any civilian lives. This was done with due diligence, and the camps selected for targeting and their engagement will now be shown to you one by one.
POJK के टारगेट मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगी. सबसे पहले सवाई नाला कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, जो कि POJK के लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल से 30 किलोमीटर दूर है. यह एक लश्कर तौयबा का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर था. 20 अक्टूबर 2024 सोनमर्ग, 24 अक्टूबर 24 गुलमर्ग, 22 अप्रैल 2025 पहलगाम, इन हमलों के आतंकियों ने यहीं से प्रशिक्षण लिया था. सैयदना बिलाल कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, यह एक जैश ए मोहम्मद का स्टेजिंग एरिया है. यह हथियार, विस्फोटक और जंगल सर्वाइवल ट्रेनिंग का केंद्र भी था. गुलपुर कैंप कोटली, यह LOC से 30 किलोमीटर दूर था. लश्कर तौयबा का बेस था जो रजौरी पुंछ में सक्रिय था. 20 अप्रैल 2023 को पुंछ में और 9 जून 2024 को तीर्थ यात्रियों के बस हमले में यहीं से आतंकी को ट्रेन किया गया था. बरनाला कैंप भिंबर, ये LOC से 9 किलोमीटर दूर है. यहाँ पर हथियार, हैंडलिंग, IED व जंगल सर्वाइवल का प्रशिक्षण केंद्र था. अब्बास कैंप कोटली, यह LOC से 13 किलोमीटर दूर है. लश्कर तौयबा का फिदाइन यहाँ तैयार होता था. इसकी कैपेसिटी 15 टेररिस्ट को ट्रेन करने की थी. अब मैं पाकिस्तान के अंदर के टारगेट से अवगत कराना चाहूंगी. पहला, सर्जल कैंप सियालकोट, यह अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा से 6 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर है, सांबा कठुआ के सामने. मार्च 2025 में जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पुलिस के 4 जवानों को की जो हत्या की गई थी, उन आतंकवादियों को इसी जगह पर ट्रेन किया गया था. दूसरा, महमूना जाया कैंप सियालकोट, यह 18 से 12 किलोमीटर IB से दूर था. हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन का बहुत बड़ा कैंप था. यह कठुआ जम्मू क्षेत्र में आतंक फैलाने का नियंत्रण केंद्र था. पठानकोट एयरफोर्स बेस पर किया गया हमला भी इसी कैंप से प्लान और डायरेक्ट किया गया था. मरकज ताइबा मुरीद के, यह IB से 18 से 25 किलोमीटर दूरी पर है. 2008 के मुंबई हमले के आतंकी भी यहीं से प्रशिक्षित हुए थे. अजमल कसब व डेविड हेडली भी यहाँ ट्रेन हुए थे।
Peru, yeah. We are playing GeoGuessr, Jarvis. This is definitely Guatemala.
Target 10 enclosure same ही है 7 it has hit the target हाँ हाँ
Wow, we can see so much.
मरकज सुभान अल्लाह भावलपुर ये इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री से 100 किलोमीटर दूर है। जैश ए मोहम्मद का मुख्यालय था। यहाँ पर रिक्रूटमेंट, ट्रेनिंग व इंडॉक्ट्रिनेशन का केंद्र भी था। शीर्ष आतंकी अक्सर यहाँ आते थे। मैं आप सबको बताना चाहती हूँ कि किसी भी सैन्य ठिकाने का निशाना नहीं बनाया गया और अभी तक किसी तरह की नागरिक क्षति की रिपोर्ट नहीं है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
The strike on the terror camps were
The United States does
undertaken
this shit every day
through
all around the
precision
world.
capability, as shown to you. A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage. The point of impact in each of the target was a specific building or a group of buildings. All the targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency, and the results reiterate the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces in the planning and execution of their operations.
Telling me this makes me think
No military establishments
not everything
were
was so
targeted.
efficient.
India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian Armed Forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any,
Misadventures.
that will escalate this situation.
Oh,
Jai
it's just
Hind
a
and
silly
thank you very
little
much.
misadventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends in the media, I ask your indulgence today in view of the fact that this is still an evolving situation. We will therefore not be able to take questions and answers today, but we will come back for more updates and more briefings shortly. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Well, super glad I stayed on and waited for that. All right, guys, I'm going to end it for the evening. We'll see you tomorrow. I might do a daytime stream tomorrow. I also might not. I'll either see you tomorrow during the day or tomorrow evening, or maybe both. I don't know. Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button and the bell if you want to know when I go live. Isn't that what the YouTubers say? Jay, our lies aren't ready yet. Exactly. Hong hong, big floppa. Hong hong hong, and good night. A hong night to you as well. Little Boosta, is that a butthole on the Indian flag? You know, now that you mention it, huh. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Hung out.